I don't believe in soulmates. Kara Paul had said this to her grandmother's face a week before everything changed, before the stroke, before the hospital, before desperation made her dial a number that shouldn't exist. Grant Hopkins, Alpha King of the Silvercrest Pack, had said the same thing to his beta that very morning. But the moon doesn't care what you believe. When Kara's 3 a.m. phone call connected, something ancient and inevitable snapped into place. 50 silver wolves surrounded the hospital by dawn, their alpha claiming a mate who didn't believe in destiny, and a waitress discovering that fate doesn't ask permission, it just takes what's already yours. Tap that like button now if you're ready to run with the pack, because what happens next will make you believe in fate. Chapter 1. The Midnight Call. The fluorescent lights of St. Michael's Hospital flickered at 2:47 a.m., casting shadows that made the sterile hallways look like the belly of some great beast. Kara Paul pressed her palm against the cold window of the emergency waiting room, watching her breath fog the glass. Outside, February snow fell in thick curtains, burying the city of Millbrook under 2 feet of white silence. She was alone. Of course she was alone. Her phone had died an hour ago, the screen going black just as she'd tried to call her stepsister, Lillian Carroll, for the 3rd time. No answer. Not that Kara had expected one. Lillian was probably at the winter gala right now. Draped in the designer dress their father had bought her, the same father who'd told Kara she wasn't gala material and should stay home where she wouldn't embarrass the family. Kara pulled her threadbare cardigan tighter around her shoulders. The hospital's heating system wheezed and groaned, barely functional. She'd been here for 3 hours now, ever since the ambulance brought in her grandmother after the stroke. 3 hours of pacing, praying, and being invisible to every nurse who walked past. Family of Margaret Paul? A doctor emerged from the double doors, his face professionally neutral in that way that made Kara's stomach drop. She rushed forward. I'm her granddaughter. How is she? Can I see her? The doctor, his badge red, Dr. Morrison, glanced down at his clipboard, then back at Kara with barely concealed assessment. She knew what he saw. A 23-year-old woman in discount store jeans and a cardigan that had been washed so many times it was more holes than fabric. No makeup. Brown hair pulled into a messy bun, the kind of person who blended into wallpaper. Your grandmother is stable, but she needs immediate surgery. There's significant blockage in her carotid artery, without intervention within the next 6 hours. He trailed off, the implication hanging heavy in the recycled air. Then do the surgery, Kara said immediately. Whatever she needs. I'll sign anything. Dr. Morrison's expression shifted slightly. Was that pity? The surgery costs $48,000. Your grandmother's insurance lapsed 3 months ago. We'll need a deposit of $24,000 before we can proceed. The number hit Kara like a physical blow. $24,000. She had $847 in her checking account, her entire life savings, the result of 2 years working double shifts at the diner while taking night classes at community college. I don't have that kind of money right now, but I can get it. I can take out a loan. Or, Miss Paul. The doctor's voice was gentle but firm. We need the deposit within 4 hours to schedule the surgery for this morning. After that, we'll have to move your grandmother to a non-critical bed and place her on a waiting list. Given her condition. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Kara's mind raced. 4 hours. She needed $24,000 in 4 hours. In the middle of the night. During a blizzard. Her father. The thought came unbidden, followed immediately by a wave of nausea. Victor Carroll had married her mother when Kara was 6, bringing with him his daughter Lillian and a fortune made in real estate development. For 2 years, Kara had believed in the fairy tale that she'd finally have a real family, a father who'd tuck her in at night, a sister to share secrets with. Then her mother died in a car accident when Kara was 8, and the fairy tale shattered. Victor hadn't legally adopted her. She learned this at the reading of her mother's will, sitting in a lawyer's office with her grandmother, while Victor and Lillian waited outside. Her mother had left everything to Kara, a small house on the edge of town, a modest life insurance policy. But Victor, as her mother's widower, had contested the will, tied it up in legal battles that drained the life insurance money and eventually forced the sale of the house. By the time Kara turned 12, she and her grandmother were living in a 2-bedroom apartment above a Chinese restaurant, and Victor had moved on to wife number 3. But he'd kept the last name Carol for Lillian, and somehow in the tangled mess of their shared history, Kara had ended up with it too, a constant reminder of the family that had rejected her. She hadn't spoken to Victor in 5 years. Not since the day she'd overheard him telling his business partner that Kara was her mother's mistake, and I've done enough charity work pretending otherwise. But her grandmother was dying. Kara pulled out her phone, relief flooding through her when she remembered the charging station near the vending machines. She found an outlet, plugged in her phone, and waited the agonizing 3 minutes it took to power back on. Her contacts list was pathetically short. Grandmother. Diner work. Lillian, don't call. And one more. Victor Carroll emergency only. She'd added that last one 2 years ago, during a moment of weakness when she'd thought maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance for reconciliation. She'd never used it. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Pride warred with desperation. Her grandmother had raised her, sacrificed everything to give Kara a chance at a life after Victor had taken everything else. Her grandmother had worked as a seamstress until arthritis crippled her fingers, had skipped meals so Kara could eat, had told her bedtime stories about moon goddesses and destined mates when they couldn't afford books. Kara pressed the call button. It rang once, twice, 3 times. This better be important. Victor's voice was slurred, slightly drunk. Probably. She could hear music and laughter in the background. The gala. Victor, it's Kara. How did you get this number? You gave it to me. 2 years ago you said if there was ever an emergency, and you think a phone call at 3 a.m. to my private line constitutes an emergency? His voice had gone cold, sharp. The voice he used on employees he was about to fire. I have investors here, Kara. Important people. Grandma Margaret had a stroke. She needs surgery, but I don't have the money for the deposit. I need $24,000, and I'll pay you back. I swear. I'll work extra shifts. Victor's laugh cut through her desperation like a blade. $24,000? For that old woman? Kara, I'm going to tell you this once, and I want you to really hear me. You are not my daughter. Margaret Paul is not my family. Whatever sob story you're selling, I'm not buying. Lose this number, please. She's dying. The line went dead. Kara stood there, phone pressed to her ear, listening to the flat tone that signaled the end of the call, the end of hope. Around her, the hospital continued its midnight routines, nurses passing with clipboards, the distant beep of monitors, a janitor pushing a mop bucket down the hall. She was still alone. Tears burned hot behind her eyes, but she blinked them back furiously. She didn't have time to cry. 4 hours. She had 4 hours to find $24,000, and she just burned her only bridge. Think, Kara. Think. Loans, no, her credit was terrible, and no bank would approve anything at 3 a.m. Friends, she didn't have any, not really. The girls at the diner were friendly enough, but none of them had that kind of money. Lillian definitely wouldn't help. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. When you need help, child, look to the moon. The moon knows your truth. It was the kind of thing her grandmother said often, cryptic statements about moon goddesses and wolf spirits in ancient bloodlines. Kara had always assumed it was just folklore, the kind of stories old women told. Her grandmother claimed their family descended from a pack of silver wolves, that Kara carried the bloodline in her veins, that someday she'd understand her true nature. Superstitious nonsense. But as Kara looked down at her phone, scrolling desperately through her contacts for anyone who might help, her thumb accidentally hit the recent calls list. Victor's number sat at the top. Below it, another number one she didn't recognize. It must have been a misdial from earlier, before her phone died. Wait. Kara's breath caught. There was a voicemail notification she hadn't noticed, from the unknown number. Sent 3 hours ago, right around the time she'd arrived at the hospital. With trembling fingers, she pressed play. Static crackled, then a voice deep, commanding, with an edge that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. You've reached the territorial line of the Silver Crest Pack. If you're calling to report rogue activity, press 1. If you're calling to request sanctuary, press 2. If you're calling to challenge pack law, press 3. If this is an emergency requiring the Alpha's direct attention, stay on the line. Kara's heart hammered. Pack? Alpha? This had to be some kind of joke. Or maybe one of those weird role-playing game hotlines she'd read about online. But then her grandmother's words flooded back. The Silvercrest pack is real, Kara. Your great-great-grandmother was their healer before she chose a human mate and left the pack. They'll remember the bloodline. If you ever need help, real help, they'll answer. It was crazy. Absolutely insane. But what did she have to lose? Kara's fingers moved before her brain could stop them, dialing the number from the voicemail. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. The line rang once. Then a voice answered, not a recording this time, but a real person. Male. His voice was like gravel and silk, authority wrapped in barely contained power. Who is this, and how did you get this number? Kara's mouth went dry. She should hang up. This was ridiculous. She was calling some stranger in the middle of the night because her dying grandmother believed in werewolves. But the desperation won. My name is Kara Paul, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. My grandmother is Margaret Paul, daughter of Elizabeth Silvermain. I need help. She's dying, and I don't know who else to call. The hospital needs $24,000 in 4 hours or they won't do the surgery, and I don't have anyone. And I know this sounds crazy, but my grandmother always said if I needed help I should call the Silvercrest pack. And I know you probably think I'm insane, but please, stop. The single word cut through her rambling. There was a long pause. Kara could hear voices in the background, murmured conversation she couldn't make out. Then, Elizabeth Silvermain's bloodline. Margaret's granddaughter. The man's voice had changed, gone from hostile to something else surprised. Intrigued? You're calling from Millbrook General Hospital. Street Michaels. Kara corrected automatically. How did you? Stay where you are. Don't leave the hospital. Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending wolves. Wolves? What does that? But the line had already gone dead. Kara pulled the phone away from her ear, staring at the screen in disbelief. Had that really just happened? Had she really just called some random number and asked for help from people who called themselves a pack? The exhaustion and stress must be getting to her. She'd probably just called some cult or criminal organization. They'd show up, demand payment she couldn't give, and things would get even worse. She should call the police, tell someone what she'd just done. But even as the thought formed, a strange sensation crept down her spine. The birthmark on her wrist, the moon-shaped mark her grandmother always traced, began to tingle, then burn, not painfully, but with a warmth that spread up her arm and settled in her chest. Kara looked down at it. In the fluorescent light, she could swear the mark was glowing faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Outside the hospital windows, the snow had stopped falling. The night was crystal clear now, and a full moon hung fat and silver in the sky, so bright it cast shadows. And in those shadows, Kara saw movement. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. But no, there were shapes moving through the parking lot. Large shapes, too large to be dogs. Wolves, silver wolves. They emerged from the tree line at the edge of the hospital property, moving in perfect formation, 10, 20, 30 of them. More appearing every second, surrounding the building in a living circle. Kara's breath fogged the glass as she pressed closer to the window, her mind refusing to accept what her eyes were seeing. This couldn't be real. Wolves didn't travel in packs this large. They didn't move with this kind of coordinated intelligence. And they definitely didn't have eyes that gleamed with human awareness when they looked directly at her. A nurse rushed past, then stopped, backtracking to the window. "Oh my God," she whispered. Are those wolves?" Other staff members began to gather, pointing and pulling out phones to take pictures. Someone called security, someone else called animal control. But the wolves didn't move. They sat in their circle, 50 pairs of silver eyes all focused on the hospital entrance. Focused on Kara. The automatic doors whooshed open, letting in a blast of frozen air. And with it, 3 people. No, not people. Not entirely. The man in the center stood at least 6'4", with broad shoulders that strained against his black coat. His hair was dark, nearly black, but shot through with silver at the temples. His eyes, God, His eyes were the same pale silver as the wolves outside, and they swept the hospital waiting room with the confidence of someone who owned everything he surveyed. Power radiated from him like heat from a furnace. Kara could feel it from across the room, could feel the way every person in the vicinity instinctively took a step back, giving him space. Behind him walked two others, a woman with long silver hair braided down her back, and a younger man who moved with the lethal grace of a predator. The man in the center's eyes locked onto Kara, and she knew, with absolute certainty, that she hadn't called some random number. She'd called the Alpha King, and he had come. Chapter 2. When Wolves Answer. The hospital waiting room had gone silent, not the peaceful kind of silence that came with late-night calm, but the suffocating silence of prey animals freezing in the presence of an apex predator. Every person in that room, nurses, patients, security guards, had gone still, their instincts screaming danger even if their conscious minds couldn't understand why. The man in the center moved forward, his boots clicking against the linoleum with the steady rhythm of inevitability. Each step seemed to make the air heavier, denser, until Kara felt like she was trying to breathe underwater. He stopped 3 feet away from her. Up close, he was devastating. Not handsome in the conventional way, his features were too sharp for that, too severe. A strong jaw carved from granite, high cheekbones that could cut glass, a mouth that looked like it rarely smiled. A thin scar ran from his left eyebrow to his temple, pale against his tanned skin. But it was his eyes that held her captive. Silver, like molten moonlight, with vertical pupils that were decidedly inhuman. They pinned her in place, studying her with an intensity that made her feel stripped bare, every secret and fear laid open for his inspection. Kara Paul. His voice rolled through the room like distant thunder. Not a question. A statement of ownership. Granddaughter of Margaret Paul, great-great-granddaughter of Elizabeth Silvermane. Kara's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her vocal cords had apparently decided to stop functioning. The woman behind him, the one with the silver braid, stepped forward. She was older than Kara had first thought, maybe in her 50s, with a face that would have been kind if not for the sharp intelligence in her amber eyes. Alpha Grant. She's terrified. You're projecting. Alpha Grant. So that was his name. Grant Hopkins. Kara's mind supplied randomly, pulling the name from some deep recess of memory. Her grandmother had mentioned him once, years ago. The Silver Crest Pack is led by the Hopkins bloodline. Strong alphas. Everyone. Fair, but merciless to those who threaten the pack. Grant's eyes narrowed slightly, and the crushing pressure in the air eased. Just a fraction, but enough that Kara could draw a full breath. You called the territorial line, he said. You invoked Elizabeth Silvermane's name and claimed bloodline right to pack assistance. Kara's voice cracked. She tried again. I didn't know what else to do. My grandmother, she needs surgery, and I don't have the money. And she always said that the Silver Crest Pack would help family in need, but I didn't really believe. Where is Margaret? Grant interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. 3rd floor. ICU. But they won't let anyone up without. Grant was already moving toward the elevators, the silver-haired woman and the younger man falling into step behind him. The security guard who'd been standing by the elevator bank took one look at Grant's face and decided his lunch break had just started, hurrying away without a word. Kara rushed after them. Wait. You can't just go up there. There are rules, visiting hours, you need to be family. Grant pressed the elevator call button, and the doors opened immediately, as if the building itself was obeying him. He stepped inside, then turned to face her, one hand holding the door open. Are you coming? Or would you prefer to stay here and argue about rules while your grandmother dies? It wasn't really a question. Kara stepped into the elevator. The younger man, who looked maybe 25, with sandy blonde hair and the kind of pretty boy face that probably broke hearts, grinned at her. Don't mind the alpha. He's terrible at bedside manner. I'm Rex, by the way. Rex Terrell. 3rd in command and significantly more charming than this grump. Shut up, Rex, Grant said without heat. The silver-haired woman smiled slightly. I'm Andrea Santiago, pack healer, and the only one of these males with any sense. You can call me Andrea. The elevator dinged, announcing the 3rd floor. The doors opened to reveal a nurse's station where 2 nurses sat doing paperwork. They looked up as Grant emerged, and Kara watched their expressions shift from annoyance to confusion to something like fear. "ICU is restricted to immediate family only," one of them said, but her voice wavered. "Visiting hours don't start until—" "Margaret Paul," Grant said. "Room number." "Now." The nurse's hand moved before her brain caught up, pointing down the hall. 318. "But you can't." Grant was already walking. Kara hurried to keep up. Andrea and Rex flanking her like guards. Or maybe like they were making sure she didn't run. "How are you doing this?" Kara whispered. "They should be calling security. Throwing us out." "Alpha Command," Rex said cheerfully. "Humans can feel it even if they don't understand it. Their instincts tell them to obey. It's quite useful, actually." "Rex." Andrea's voice carried a warning. "What?" She called the pack line. "She's one of us even if she doesn't know it yet. One of us." The word sent a chill down Kara's spine. What exactly had she gotten herself into? Room 318 appeared on the left. Through the window, Kara could see her grandmother's small form on the bed, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped steadily. She looked so fragile, so much smaller than Kara remembered. When had her grandmother gotten so old? Grant pushed open the door and walked in without hesitation. He approached the bed, and for the first time since he'd arrived, his expression softened, just slightly, but enough that Kara could see something almost like grief cross his features. "Margaret Silvermain," he said quietly. "It's been a long time." Kara's grandmother's eyes fluttered open. They were cloudy, unfocused, but when they landed on Grant, something sparked. Recognition. And something else, relief? "Grant," her grandmother whispered, her voice barely audible over the machines. "You came. You called. Or rather, your granddaughter called on your behalf." Grant pulled a chair close to the bed, settling into it with surprising gentleness. "You should have contacted the pack years ago. We would have helped." "Pride," Margaret said, managing a weak smile. "Stupid, stupid pride. I thought I could give her a normal life. Away from pack politics. Away from the moon's pull." Her eyes shifted to Kara, standing frozen in the doorway. "But the moon always finds its children, doesn't it?" "Grandma, what's going on?" Kara asked. "Who are these people? What are you talking about?" Margaret tried to sit up, but Grant placed a hand on her shoulder, keeping her still. "Rest. Kara needs answers, but they can wait until you're stronger." "No." Margaret's voice carried surprising strength. "She needs to know. Before." She broke off, coughing, and one of the machines started beeping faster. Andrea moved to the other side of the bed, placing her hands on Margaret's chest. A faint glow emanated from her palms, silver light that seemed to seep into Margaret's skin. The coughing subsided. The machine's beeping steadied. Kara stared. How did you—" "Pack healer," Andrea said simply. "Our kind heals faster than humans. I can't cure your grandmother's condition, but I can ease her pain, give her strength. Our kind." There it was again. Margaret reached out a trembling hand toward Kara. "Come here, child." Kara moved to the bedside, taking her grandmother's hand. The skin was papery thin, cool to the touch, but the grip was stronger than it should have been. "I never told you the full truth," Margaret said. "About our family, about what we are. I thought. I hoped you might be spared, that the bloodline had diluted enough that you'd live as a human, never knowing the call of the pack, the change under the moon." "Grandma, you're not making sense. She's a wolf, Kara." Grant's voice cut through her confusion like a blade. "We all are. Shifters. Children of the moon. And whether you want to believe it or not, so are you." The words hung in the air, absurd and impossible. Kara laughed. It was a desperate, slightly hysterical sound. "Okay. I get it. This is some kind of elaborate prank, right? Like those YouTube videos where they pretend." Rex pulled his phone from his pocket, tapped the screen a few times, then held it up to show her. The screen displayed a live feed from a security camera, the hospital parking lot, and surrounding the building in a perfect circle, sitting motionless in the snow, were the 50 silver wolves. "Those are our pack," Rex said. "Well, some of them. We've got about 300 total, but 50 seemed sufficient for a hospital visit. Kara's knees went weak. Andrea caught her elbow, guiding her into a chair. "This is insane," Kara whispered. "Werewolves aren't real. They're just stories, myths. So were dragons once," Grant said. "Until humans found their bones and called them dinosaurs. The world is larger and stranger than most people understand, and most of us prefer to keep it that way." "Kara." Her grandmother's voice drew her attention back. "Look at your wrist." The mark. Automatically, Kara looked down at the moon-shaped birthmark on her inner wrist. In the dim hospital light, it was glowing. Soft silver light pulsed beneath her skin, in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Every Silvermane carries that mark," Margaret said. "It's the moon's claim. You are Pack, Kara. You always have been. I wanted you to have a choice. I left the Silvercrest Pack 50 years ago to marry your grandfather, a human. I thought I could give your mother a normal life. And when your mother chose Victor, another human, I thought the bloodline would continue to dilute, that you might escape the burden of the change. But she didn't," Grant said, his silver eyes fixed on Kara with an intensity that made her want to run and stay frozen at the same time. "The mark on her wrist is as strong as any pureblood's. Stronger. She carries the Silvermane gift." "What gift?" Kara asked, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. "Healing," Andrea said. "The Silvermane line produced the greatest healers the Packs have ever known. Your great-great-grandmother could heal wounds that would kill any other wolf. Could commune with the moon itself, channel its power through her hands." Margaret squeezed Kara's hand. "Your mother had the gift too, though she never developed it, never shifted. Died before the first change could take her." Tears leaked from the corners of her eyes. "Sometimes I wonder if that car accident was really an accident, or if her wolf was trying to emerge and she couldn't control it." "Don't," Grant said sharply. "Don't torture yourself with what-ifs." A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Morrison stepped in, clipboard in hand, his expression professional but strained. "I'm sorry, but I need to ask the visitors to leave. Miss, Paul needs rest, and I need to discuss." He stopped, his eyes landing on Grant. Something flickered in his expression. Fear? Recognition? Grant stood, and the doctor took an involuntary step back. "The deposit," Dr. Morrison said quickly. "For the surgery. Without it, we can't." "You'll have your money," Grant said. "All 48,000. The surgery will happen within the hour, and you'll use your best surgeons. Understood?" Dr. Morrison nodded, almost tripping over himself to agree. "Yes, of course, absolutely. And Doctor?" Grant's voice dropped to something that was barely a whisper but somehow filled the entire room. "If Margaret Paul dies because your staff was negligent or slow, I will return, and I will be significantly less pleasant." The doctor's face went pale. He nodded again, then fled. Kara stared at Grant. "How are you going to get $48,000 in the middle of the night?" Rex laughed. "Alpha Grant isn't just pack leader, sweetheart. He's also Grant Hopkins, CEO of Hopkins Enterprises. Real estate, tech investments, pharmaceuticals. Last I checked, Forbes ranked him at number 47 on their billionaires list. A billionaire. A werewolf. An alpha king, and she'd called him at 3 a.m. asking for money." Kara felt like she might pass out. Grant pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then pocketed it. "Done. The hospital will have the money transferred within 10 minutes. Your grandmother will get her surgery." "I can't," Kara's voice broke. "I can't pay you back. Not $48,000. I'm a waitress. I barely make rent. It would take me years. I don't want your money," Grant said. Relief and suspicion warred in Kara's chest. "Then what do you want?" "Juan." Grant moved closer to her, and Kara found herself standing on shaky legs, her body responding to his proximity before her mind could catch up. He reached out, his hand hovering over her wrist where the mark glowed. "You invoked bloodline right," he said quietly. "That comes with a price. Your great-great-grandmother was Pack. Your grandmother was Pack until she chose to leave. But you, Kara Paul, you've never chosen. Never been given the chance to know what you are, to embrace or reject your heritage. What are you saying? I'm saying that the pack answers calls for help from bloodline members. But in return, the bloodline member must answer the pack's call as well. His silver eyes held hers. You have 3 options. 1. Reject the pack's help, walk away, and your grandmother dies tonight. 2. Accept the help and pay the financial debt $48,000 plus interest. 3. Accept the help and pay the traditional debt service to the pack. Service? What kind of service? You come with us, Andrea said gently. Live with the pack for 1 lunar year, 13 full moons. Learn what you are. Train your gifts. And at the end of that year, you choose. Join the pack permanently, or walk away with no debt owed. Kara looked at her grandmother, who was watching her with wet eyes. I'm sorry, child. I should have told you sooner. Should have prepared you. But the choice is yours. It always has been. 1 year. 13 full moons. Living with a pack of werewolves, learning to be something she didn't even believe in. Or her grandmother died. Kara laughed again, that same desperate sound. That's not really a choice, is it? It's always a choice, Grant said. But I won't lie to you, if you choose the debt of service, your life will change. Irrevocably. You'll learn things about yourself that you can't unlearn. You'll become part of something larger than yourself. And once the first change takes you, once you've shifted under the full moon, there's no going back to who you were before. The mark on her wrist pulsed brighter. As if responding to his words, Kara thought about her life. Her tiny apartment above the Chinese restaurant, her waitressing job, where the owner grabbed her ass and she had to smile and take it because she needed the money. Her stepfather's cruel laughter on the phone. Lillian's pretty face sneering at her from across the dinner table. What exactly was she going back to? If I do this, Kara said slowly, you'll pay for the surgery? All of it? And my grandmother will be taken care of? She'll be brought to Packlands as soon as she's stable enough to move, Grant said. We have healers far better than human doctors. She'll want for nothing. And after the year, if I choose to leave, you'll let me go? No strings? No debts? You have my word as Alpha. Kara looked at Rex, who grinned and gave her a thumbs up. Then at Andrea, who nodded encouragingly. Finally, she looked at her grandmother. Do it, Margaret whispered. Find your pack, Kara. Find where you belong. I can't protect you anymore. But they can. Kara took a deep breath. Then another. Okay, she said. I'll do it. 1 year. Service to the pack. The moment the words left her mouth, the mark on her wrist flared brilliant silver, so bright she had to shield her eyes. A searing heat rushed through her veins, not painful but overwhelming, like liquid starlight pouring into her bloodstream. When the light faded, her wrist still glowed softly. But now, in the center of the moon-shaped mark, was a new symbol, a wolf's head in profile, howling at an invisible moon. What? Kara stared at it. What just happened? Grant took her wrist, his fingers warm against her skin. Where he touched her, sparks seemed to dance, silver and electric. You've been marked, he said. And was there satisfaction in his voice? Bound to the Silver Crest pack. For the next year, you're under my protection. Under my authority. He pulled her closer. So close she could feel the heat radiating from his body, could smell something wild and clean like pine and snow. Welcome to the pack, Kara Paul, Grant said, his voice dropping to something that was almost a growl. Try not to die before the first full moon. And outside the window, 50 silver wolves threw back their heads and howled. Chapter 3. The Packlands. The drive from Millbrook to the Silvercrest Pack territory took 3 hours through winding mountain roads that seemed to exist outside the normal world. Kara sat in the back of a black SUV that probably cost more than her entire apartment building, watching the city lights fade into darkness, and then into something else entirely. A wilderness so deep and primal, it made her bones ache with a longing she didn't understand. Grant drove in silence, his hands steady on the wheel, his silver eyes occasionally flicking to the rearview mirror to check on her. Andrea sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone and occasionally murmuring updates about Margaret's surgery, which had started 20 minutes after Grant's money had cleared, just as he'd promised. Rex had taken a different car, leading a convoy of 3 more black SUVs filled with pack members who'd been waiting in the parking lot. The 50 wolves had vanished the moment Kara agreed to come, melting back into the forest like they'd never existed. Except she knew they had. She'd seen them. Hell, she could still feel them somehow, a presence at the edge of her awareness like a song playing in another room. The pack bond, Andrea said, turning in her seat to face Kara. You're feeling it, aren't you? Like whispers you can't quite hear? Kara nodded, not trusting her voice. It'll get stronger once you shift for the first time. Right now, you're only sensing the strongest bonds, the alpha, the beta, the pack core. After your first change, you'll be able to feel all of us. Know when we're hurt, when we're happy, when we're hunting. That sounds invasive, Kara said. Andrea smiled. It sounds that way to someone who's never had it. But once you do, it's like being part of a family that can never truly leave you. You're never alone, never truly lost. Kara thought about her years in that tiny apartment, eating dinner by herself while her grandmother worked late, thought about sitting in school cafeterias, watching groups of girls laugh together while she ate her sandwich in the corner. Thought about every birthday party she'd never been invited to, every phone that never rang. Never alone sounded like a fairy tale. What if I can't do it? Kara asked quietly. What if I can't shift, or whatever it is I'm supposed to do? Grant's voice rumbled from the front seat. You will. The Silvermane bloodline is strong. When the full moon rises, your wolf will answer. And if it doesn't, then you'll die screaming as your body tries to change and fails. Rex's cheerful voice crackled through the car's speakers. He must have called in on the SUV's system. But don't worry, that almost never happens anymore. Maybe 1 in every 1,000 first shifts results in catastrophic failure. Rex, Grant growled. Shut up. What? She asked. I'm just being honest. Although, for the record, Silvermane bloodlines have a 100% shift success rate historically, so Kara's probably fine. Probably. Andrea reached back and patted Kara's knee. He's being dramatic. You'll be fine. I'll be with you during your first shift, and I've guided hundreds of new wolves through the change. Trust me. Trust. Such a simple word for such an impossible request. But what choice did she have? The SUV turned off the main highway onto a road that wasn't marked on any map Kara had ever seen. Trees closed in on both sides, their branches forming a canopy so thick that even the moonlight couldn't penetrate. They drove for another 20 minutes before the forest suddenly opened up. Kara's breath caught. Before her lay a valley that shouldn't exist, a hidden paradise tucked between mountains, lit by the full moon until it glowed silver. A river ran through the center, its water catching the light like liquid mercury, and scattered throughout the valley were buildings that seemed to grow organically from the landscape, wood and stone structures that blended so seamlessly with their surroundings that Kara almost missed them at first. But it was the people that made her lean forward against her seatbelt, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, moving through the valley. Some were in human form, dressed casually, going about normal-looking activities. Others were wolves. Massive silver wolves, some as large as horses, padding through the streets alongside their human packmates like it was the most natural thing in the world. As Grant's SUV descended into the valley, several wolves looked up, their eyes gleaming in the darkness. Welcome to Silverhaven, Andrea said. Packlands, 3,000 acres of protected territory. No humans allowed without alpha permission. No hunting except by pack law. No violence except in defense or challenge. Challenge? Kara asked. Pack hierarchy, Grant said. Any wolf can challenge another for their position. It keeps us sharp. Keeps the weak from leading, and the strong from growing complacent. That sounds barbaric. Grant's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. That sounds like nature. The human world has made you soft, Kara Paul. You'll need to shed that softness if you want to survive here. The SUV pulled up in front of the largest building in the valley. A sprawling lodge made of dark timber and river stone, with massive windows that glowed with warm light. As Grant parked, the front doors opened and more people emerged. No, not people. Wolves in human skin. Kara could sense it now. That otherness that clung to them. They moved differently than humans, with a liquid grace that seemed too fluid, too precise. Their eyes tracked the SUV with predatory focus, and when Grant stepped out, they all straightened, their postures shifting to something like military attention. "Alpha," several of them said in unison, their voices carrying a respect that bordered on reverence. Grant nodded to them, then moved to open Kara's door. She hesitated before taking his offered hand, and the moment her fingers touched his, that electric spark flared again. Stronger this time, hot enough that she almost yanked her hand back. Grant's eyes narrowed. "Interesting." "What's interesting?" Kara asked, stepping out onto gravel that crunched beneath her worn sneakers. He didn't answer, but Andrea's expression had gone carefully neutral, which somehow seemed more ominous than if she'd looked worried. The pack members crowded closer, and Kara found herself the focus of dozens of inhuman eyes. Silver, gold, amber, green wolf eyes in human faces, studying her with an intensity that made her want to hide. "Everyone. Back off," Rex said, appearing from one of the other SUVs. "Give the girl some space. She's had a hell of a night, and the last thing she needs is you lot sniffing her like she's a new chew toy." A few of the wolves' packmates, what was she supposed to call them, backed up, but most just kept staring. "This is Kara Paul," Grant announced, his voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "Granddaughter of Margaret Silvermane, great-great-granddaughter of Elizabeth Silvermane. She's claimed bloodline right and accepted a year of service to the pack. She is to be treated as pack, afforded full protection and respect. Anyone who harms her answers to me personally." The threat in those last words made several wolves flinch. A woman stepped forward from the crowd, tall, with long black hair and golden eyes that studied Kara like she was a puzzle to be solved. She was beautiful in the way that predators were beautiful. Sleek, deadly, mesmerizing. "A Silvermane," the woman said, her voice smooth as honey. "I thought that bloodline had died out. How fascinating that one should appear now, just when—" "That's enough, Marion," Grant said sharply. The woman Marion smiled, showing too many teeth. "Of course, Alpha. I was simply welcoming our new packmate." She turned that unsettling smile on Kara. "I'm Marion Woodward, beta female of the Silvercrest Pack. If you need anything during your stay, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask." The words were friendly, but the tone carried something else. A challenge? A warning? "Thank you," Kara said, because she didn't know what else to say. "Come on," Andrea said, taking Kara's arm gently. "Let's get you inside and settled. You must be exhausted." Exhausted didn't begin to cover it. Kara felt like she'd lived 3 lifetimes in the last 6 hours. But as Andrea guided her toward the lodge, Grant fell into step beside them, his presence simultaneously comforting and unnerving. The inside of the lodge was stunning. High ceilings with exposed timber beams, a massive stone fireplace that could fit a car inside it, furniture that managed to look both rustic and expensive. Wolves in human form lounged on couches, playing cards at a large wooden table, reading books in armchairs. They all looked up as Grant entered, and again that ripple of respect and attention. "The Alpha's floor is off limits, except by invitation," Andrea explained as they climbed a wide staircase. "You'll be on the guest floor for now. 3rd door on the left. It has its own bathroom, and I've had some clothes brought up that should fit you. We'll get you properly outfitted tomorrow." They reached the 3rd floor, and Andrea pushed open a door to reveal a room that was bigger than Kara's entire apartment. A massive bed with a thick down comforter, a window seat overlooking the valley, a dresser made of dark wood, and yes, through an open doorway, a bathroom with a shower that looked like it belonged in a spa. "This is too much," Kara said. "This is the smallest guest room," Grant said from behind her, making her jump. She'd forgotten how quietly he moved. "You're packed now, even if only temporarily. We take care of our own." Andrea squeezed Kara's shoulder. "Get some rest. The next few days are going to be intense. Your body will start preparing for the shift, and that means changes. Hunger, mood swings, heightened senses. Don't be alarmed. It's all normal." "What if I'm alarmed anyway?" Kara asked. Andrea smiled. "Then you're smart. Fear keeps you alive in this world. The trick is not letting it control you." She headed for the door, pausing to look back at Grant. Don't keep her up all night, Alpha. She needs sleep more than she needs one of your interrogations. Grant inclined his head slightly, and Andrea left, closing the door behind her, leaving Kara alone with the Alpha King. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Grant moved to the window, looking out over the valley, his hands clasped behind his back. You have questions. Ask them. Kara had about 1,000,000 questions, but only one that really mattered. Why? Why what? Why help me? You don't know me. My grandmother left this pack 50 years ago. We're strangers. So why drop everything, bring 50 wolves to a hospital, pay $48,000 for someone you've never met? Grant was quiet for a long moment, his profile sharp against the moonlight streaming through the window. Do you know the history of your bloodline? What the Silvermane wolves meant to this pack? My grandmother told me stories, Kara said, but I always thought they were just that. Stories. Elizabeth Silvermane saved this pack from extinction. Grant's voice carried the weight of old memory, old debt. 200 years ago, a plague swept through the wolf packs. Silver fever, we called it. It burned through pack after pack, killing 9 out of every 10 wolves. Entire bloodlines were wiped out. The Silvercrest pack was down to 23 members, and half of them were children. He turned to face her, his silver eyes catching the light. Elizabeth was a healer unlike any the packs had ever seen. She walked into our territory, saw our dying, and spent 3 months saving us. She didn't sleep, barely ate, channeled the moon's power through her hands until she collapsed from exhaustion, then got up and did it again. By the time the fever broke, she'd saved 18 lives, built our pack back from the edge of oblivion. Kara's throat tightened. I didn't know. How could you? Your grandmother left before you were born, and she clearly chose not to burden you with our history. Grant moved closer, and Kara had to resist the urge to step back. But the Silvercrest pack never forgets its debts. Elizabeth Silvermane gave us life. When her bloodline calls for help, we answer, not because we expect something in return, but because it's the right thing to do. But you do expect something, Kara said. That's what the year of service is about, isn't it? You need something from me. Grant's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. If smiles could be that sharp. Clever. Yes. We need something. But whether we get it or not depends entirely on you. What do you need? A healer. Grant's voice went soft, almost sad. Andrea is powerful, but she's not a Silvermane. There are injuries she can't fix, illnesses she can't cure, and there's a sickness spreading through the pack. Slowly, subtly, but it's there. Wolves who should heal in hours taking days, strength fading, the pack bond weakening. Fear flickered through Kara. You think I can heal them? I'm not even a wolf yet. I don't know anything about. You have the mark. You have the blood. Whether you have the gift. Grant shrugged. That remains to be seen. But if you do, if even a fraction of Elizabeth's power flows through you, you could save this pack. Again. The weight of that expectation settled on Kara's shoulders like a physical thing. And if I don't? If I can't? Then you'll serve your year in other ways. And at the end of it, you'll leave with no debt owed, and our gratitude for trying. Grant moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the knob. Get some sleep, Kara Paul. Tomorrow, your training begins. Wait, Kara said. What happens if I can heal them? If I have this gift you're looking for? Grant looked back at her, and for just a moment, she saw something raw in his expression. Hunger, need, and something deeper. Something that made her heart race and her skin prickle with awareness. Then you become the most valuable wolf in the territory, he said quietly. And I become responsible for keeping you alive. Because there are other packs out there, Kara. Packs that would kill to possess a Silvermane healer. Packs that would start a war to take you from us. He opened the door, and the sounds of the lodge filtered in laughter, conversation, the patting of paws on wood floors. Sleep while you can, Grant said. Because once word spreads that a Silvermane has returned to the Silvercrest pack, everything changes. For all of us. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Kara stood in the center of her too-big room, in a lodge full of werewolves, in a valley that existed outside normal reality, and finally let herself process everything that had happened. She'd called a stranger for help. She'd agreed to become a werewolf. She'd bound herself to a pack for a year, and if what Grant said was true, she'd just painted a target on her back that could start a war. Kara looked down at her wrist, at the glowing mark that pulsed with her heartbeat. The wolf's head in profile seemed to stare back at her, howling its silent song. "What have I gotten myself into?" she whispered. Outside her window, in the valley below, a wolf howled. Then another, and another, until the whole pack was singing to the moon, their voices weaving together in a harmony that shouldn't exist but did. And deep in Kara's chest, something answered. Something wild. Something hungry. Something that had been sleeping her entire life and was finally starting to wake up. Chapter 4, The First Lesson. Kara woke to sunlight streaming through her window and the smell of bacon. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Her apartment didn't have windows this large, and she definitely couldn't afford bacon. Then memory crashed back: the hospital, the phone call, the wolves, Grant's silver eyes promising that everything was about to change. She sat up, her body protesting in ways that felt wrong. Every muscle ached like she'd run a marathon. Her skin felt too tight, stretched over bones that seemed to be shifting beneath the surface. And her senses, God, her senses. She could hear conversations happening 3 floors below. Could smell not just bacon but eggs, coffee, cinnamon rolls, and underneath it all, the wild musk of wolf. Could see individual dust motes floating in the sunbeam, each one crystalline and perfect. The mark on her wrist burned hot. A knock at the door made her jump. "You decent?" Rex's voice called. "Because I'm coming in anyway in 5, 4, 3. "I'm decent," Kara shouted, then winced. Her voice had come out much louder than intended, echoing off the walls. Rex pushed the door open, carrying a tray loaded with food. He was dressed casually, jeans and a Henley shirt that showed off muscular arms, and his sandy hair was still wet from a shower. He grinned when he saw her. "Morning, sleeping beauty. It's almost noon, by the way. Alpha wanted to let you sleep off the shock, but training starts in 30 minutes, so I brought provisions." He set the tray on the dresser, and Kara's stomach growled so loudly it was almost embarrassing. She was suddenly ravenously hungry in a way she'd never experienced before. "That's the pre-shift hunger," Rex said, reading her expression. "Your body's preparing for the change. You'll be eating about 4,000 calories a day for the next week. Don't fight it. You'll need the energy." Kara moved to the tray, staring at the mountain of food. Bacon, scrambled eggs, 3 cinnamon rolls, hash browns, fresh fruit, and a pitcher of orange juice. "I can't eat all this." "Yes, you can. Watch." Rex picked up a piece of bacon and popped it in his mouth, chewing thoughtfully. "Actually, you'll probably want seconds. First shifters always do." Kara sat on the edge of the bed and picked up a fork. The moment she tasted the eggs, something in her brain just switched on. She ate mechanically, efficiently, her body demanding fuel. Within 10 minutes, the tray was empty except for crumbs. Rex whistled. "Damn. That was impressive. Most new wolves take at least 20 minutes their first morning." "I don't feel full," Kara said, slightly horrified. "I feel like I could eat the same amount again." "Yeah, that's normal. Come on, there's more food downstairs, and you need to meet the training team before we start." Rex headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and there are clothes in the dresser." Andrea's surprisingly good at guessing sizes. Something about healer senses. Weird but useful. After Rex left, Kara opened the dresser to find it stocked with practical clothing, athletic leggings, sports bras, tank tops, hoodies, and sturdy boots. Everything looked new and expensive. Tags still attached. She changed quickly, her body still feeling strange, like she was wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. Downstairs, the lodge was bustling with activity. Wolves in human form moved through the space, some heading out the front door, others gathering in what looked like a dining hall. The conversation stopped when Kara appeared on the stairs, dozens of eyes tracking her descent. She forced herself to keep walking, to not show how terrified she was. "Kara." Andrea appeared from the crowd, smiling warmly. How did you sleep? Any nightmares? Fever? Excessive sweating? No. Should I have had those? Not necessarily, but they're common in the days before a first shift. Your body is going through rapid changes at a cellular level. It's traumatic, even if you can't consciously feel it yet. Andrea linked her arm through Kara's, guiding her toward the dining hall. But you look good, strong. The Silvermane bloodline is clearly robust. The dining hall was massive, with long wooden tables that could seat hundreds. Currently, about 50 wolves were scattered throughout, eating breakfast or lunch, Kara supposed, given the time. They all looked up when she entered. And again that unsettling moment of being studied. At the far end of the room, seated at a table by himself, was Grant. He was reading something on a tablet, a cup of coffee at his elbow, and he looked normal. Almost. If you ignored the way his presence seemed to fill the entire room, the way every other wolf was hyper-aware of his location even while pretending to focus on their own meals. He glanced up as Andrea led Kara to the food line, and their eyes met across the room. Something electric passed between them, that same spark she'd felt when he'd touched her hand. His gaze held hers for a long moment before he returned to his tablet, dismissing her. Why did that feel like rejection? Don't mind him, Andrea said quietly, loading a plate with more food than Kara thought possible to eat. He's been tense since you arrived. Pack politics. You'll learn about it eventually. What kind of politics? Kara asked, accepting the overflowing plate. Andrea hesitated, then seemed to decide honesty was better. There are factions within the pack who don't think we should have brought you here. They see you as a risk, an untrained wolf with powerful bloodline who could be a liability in a fight. Others see you as an opportunity, a political piece to be moved around the board. And then there are those who see you as a threat to the current power structure. Threat? I don't want anyone's power. I'm just trying to save my grandmother. I know that, Grant knows that, but not everyone does. Andrea guided her to a table in the corner, away from most of the other wolves. Which is why your training is so important. You need to be able to protect yourself, to prove you're not weak or helpless. Wolves respect strength, Kara. Nothing else matters as much. They ate in relative silence, Andrea occasionally pointing out important pack members. There was Hugo Franklin, the weapons master, a scarred older wolf with gray in his beard. Sean Prince, the tracker, lean and sharp-eyed. Dean Mercer, the enforcer, built like a tank and twice as intimidating. And sitting at a table surrounded by admirers was Marion Woodward, the beta female who'd greeted Kara last night. She was laughing at something one of the males said, tossing her black hair over her shoulder, but her golden eyes kept flicking to Grant's table. Watching. Calculating. She wants to be alpha female, Andrea said, following Kara's gaze. Has for years. But Grant hasn't chosen a mate, and without that bond, she can't claim the position. Why hasn't he chosen someone? Kara asked. Andrea's expression went carefully neutral again. That's a question you'd have to ask him. But I will say this: Grant Hopkins is one of the strongest alphas our pack has ever had. He's also one of the loneliest. He takes his responsibilities seriously. Maybe too seriously. He won't choose a mate unless he's certain she can handle the burden of being his equal. Before Kara could ask what that meant, Rex appeared at their table. Training time. Come on, newbie. Let's see what you're made of. The training grounds were located behind the main lodge, a vast open area that had been cleared of trees. There were obstacle courses, sparring rings, target ranges, and what looked like an actual gladiatorial arena carved into the hillside. Waiting in the main sparring ring was Grant, now dressed in athletic gear that did nothing to hide the powerful musculature of his body. With him were Hugo Franklin and a woman Kara hadn't seen before. Short, stocky, with silver hair cut close to her scalp and arms covered in tattoos that looked like they moved when she flexed. This is Eula Bates, Grant said as Kara approached. Combat instructor and my personal guard. For the next week, she'll be teaching you the basics of self-defense. Eula looked Kara up and down, unimpressed. You ever been in a fight before, girl? Define fight. Kara said. Someone tries to hurt you, you hurt them back. Kara thought about the times in school when bigger girls had shoved her in hallways, the way her stepfather had grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise when she talked back once. No, not really. Good, Eula said, surprising her. Means I don't have to unteach you bad habits. Hugo, you're up. Hugo stepped into the ring, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for a man his size. He gestured for Kara to join him. She climbed through the ropes, her heart hammering. Around the ring, other wolves had gathered to watch, drawn by curiosity or the promise of entertainment. First lesson, Hugo said, his voice gravelly. You're going to attack me. What? No. I can't. Yes. You can. I'm bigger than you, stronger than you, and I've got about 40 years of combat experience. But none of that matters if you can use your advantages. Speed, flexibility, unpredictability. Now attack me. Kara looked helplessly at Grant, who was watching with those unreadable silver eyes. I don't know how. Figure it out, Grant said. You have 10 seconds before Hugo attacks you instead. Panic spiked through her. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. 9 seconds. Hugo settled into a fighting stance, and Kara could see the predator in him now, the wolf wearing human skin. He was going to hurt her. She could see it in his eyes. 8 seconds. Kara's body moved before her mind caught up. She lunged forward, aiming a wild punch at Hugo's chest. He sidestepped easily, his hand shooting out to grab her wrist. He twisted, and suddenly Kara was face down in the dirt, Hugo's knee pressing into her back. Dead, he said matter-of-factly. You telegraphed your attack. Your eyes showed me exactly where you were going to strike. Again, get up. Kara pushed herself to her feet, spitting dirt. Her wrist throbbed where Hugo had grabbed it, and humiliation burned hot in her chest. Around the ring, she could hear whispers, laughter, pathetic. She's never going to survive the first shift. Why did Alpha even bring her here? The mark on her wrist flared hot, and something in Kara's chest snarled. She didn't know these people, didn't owe them anything, but she'd be damned if she'd give them the satisfaction of watching her quit. Again, she said. Hugo smiled. Better. This time, don't think. Let your instincts lead. Kara circled him, trying to see an opening. Hugo was massive, all muscle and power, but he moved like he was made of water. There was no way she could overpower him, but maybe she didn't have to. She feinted left, then dropped low and swept her leg at his ankle. Hugo jumped easily, but the move put Kara inside his guard. She drove her elbow upward, aiming for his solar plexus. Hugo caught her arm, but this time, Kara was ready. She used his grip as leverage, twisting her body and dropping her weight. The momentum pulled Hugo off balance just slightly, just enough. She didn't win. Hugo recovered instantly, his other hand coming up to stop her follow-through. But she'd surprised him. She could see it in his face. Better, he said, releasing her. You've got decent instincts, raw, untrained, but there, we can work with that. Again, Kara said. They went again. And again. And again. By the 15th round, Kara was drenched in sweat and covered in bruises. Hugo had taken her down every single time, but each attempt lasted a little longer. Each attack was a little more precise. Enough, Grant said finally, stepping into the ring. Hugo, take a break. Hugo bowed slightly and left the ring. Grant moved to stand in front of Kara, and she had to crane her neck to meet his eyes. You didn't quit, he said. Was that an option? Always. But you didn't take it. Why? Kara wiped sweat from her forehead, thinking. Because everyone here thinks I'm weak. Thinks I don't belong. And maybe they're right. But I'm not going to prove it for them by giving up after one training session. Grant's expression shifted. Was that approval? Good. Anger is useful if you can control it. Channel it. Let it fuel you without consuming you. He gestured to Eula. Switch. Let's see what she's got against another female. Eula hopped into the ring, grinning in a way that promised pain. Ready to dance, Silvermane? No. Kara said honestly. Perfect. Eula attacked. Where Hugo had been methodical, testing her, Eula was chaos. She came at Kara from 3 directions at once. Or at least that's what it felt like. Kara barely had time to block one strike before another came from a different angle. Within seconds, Kara was on her back, Eula's hand at her throat. "Dead," Eula said. "But you blocked my first strike, that's something." Again, they went again, and again. By the time Grant called an end to training 3 hours later, Kara could barely stand. Every muscle screamed. Her body was one giant bruise. But she'd landed a hit on Eula, just one. A glancing blow to the shoulder, but it counted. Eula had actually laughed. "You've got fire, girl. That'll keep you alive. Maybe." As the crowd dispersed, Grant approached Kara with a water bottle. She took it gratefully, drinking deeply. "You did well," he said. "Better than I expected for a first day. I got my ass kicked, yes. But you kept getting back up. That's what matters." He studied her, his silver eyes intense. "The full moon is in 6 days. Your first shift will happen whether you're ready or not. Every day until then, you'll train. Combat in the mornings, pack dynamics in the afternoons, meditation and control exercises at night." Meditation. The shift is as much mental as physical. If you can't control your wolf, it will control you. And a feral wolf on pack lands is a danger to everyone. His expression darkened. "I won't let that happen." "Understood?" Kara nodded, too exhausted to argue. Grant turned to leave, then paused. "Your grandmother's surgery was successful. She's in recovery. Andrea will take you to visit her tomorrow." Relief flooded through Kara so intensely she almost collapsed. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. We've kept our end of the bargain. Now you need to keep yours." He walked away, leaving Kara standing alone in the training ring as the sun set over the valley. Around her, wolves were shifting for their evening hunts. One moment human, the next fur and fang and primal power. They made it look easy, natural, like breathing. Kara looked at her shaking hands, at the mark on her wrist that pulsed with silver light. In 6 days, she would become one of them. The question was, would she survive it? Chapter 5. Secrets and Silver. The next 3 days blurred together in a haze of pain, exhaustion, and transformation. Kara woke at dawn each morning to train with Eula and Hugo. They pushed her harder than she'd ever been pushed, drilling her in hand-to-hand combat until her body moved on pure instinct. Block, strike, dodge, counter. Over and over until the movements became muscle memory. But it was the changes happening inside her that terrified her most. Her senses grew sharper by the hour. By the second day, she could hear heartbeats from across the lodge, could smell emotions. Fear had a sour tang. Anger burned hot like copper, desire was sweet and musky. Her eyesight sharpened until she could see in near darkness, could track movement that happened too fast for human perception. And the hunger. God. The hunger never stopped. She ate constantly 6 meals a day, each one large enough to feed a family. Her body was burning through calories at an impossible rate, reshaping itself from the inside out. Her muscles were denser now, stronger, her reflexes faster. Even her face looked different in the mirror, sharper, wilder, with eyes that sometimes reflected silver in the light. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, Andrea took her to visit her grandmother. The Pack Medical Facility was located in a separate building at the edge of the valley, a state-of-the-art hospital that looked like it belonged in a major city, not hidden in the mountains. Andrea explained that they treated both wolves and the few trusted human allies the Pack maintained. Margaret was awake when they arrived, sitting up in bed and looking better than she had in years. The gray pallor was gone from her skin, replaced by healthy color. Her eyes were clear and focused. "Kara," she breathed, reaching out with hands that barely trembled. "Look at you. You're changing already. I can see it." Kara took her grandmother's hands, feeling the warmth in them, the strength returning. "How do you feel?" "Like I've been given a second chance." Margaret's eyes were wet. "The Pack healers. They're remarkable. Andrea says I'll be fully recovered in another week. Maybe less." She squeezed Kara's hands. "I'm so sorry, child. Sorry I didn't prepare you for this. Sorry I let my fear and pride keep you from your birthright." "You were trying to protect me," Kara said, sitting on the edge of the bed. I understand that now. But I was wrong. You needed to know what you are. Needed to be raised among your people, learning control and strength. Margaret glanced at Andrea, who'd stepped back to give them privacy. How is she doing? Tell me the truth. Andrea moved closer, her healer's eyes assessing. She's strong. Stronger than most first shifters. The Silvermane bloodline is proving itself. But... She hesitated. But what? Kara asked. The bond, Andrea said carefully. Between you and the Alpha. It's... unusual. Kara's heart skipped. What do you mean? Margaret's expression shifted to something knowing. The spark. You feel it when he's near, don't you? When he touches you? Heat flooded Kara's cheeks. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Her grandmother's smile was sad. It's the mate bond, child. The moon's way of showing two wolves that they're meant for each other. But it shouldn't be this strong before your first shift. Shouldn't be active at all while you're still human. Grant is not my mate, Kara said firmly, even as something in her chest twisted at the denial. He's the Alpha. He barely tolerates me, and there's Marion. Marion Woodward is a political climber who wants the title of alpha female more than she wants an actual mate. Margaret said bluntly, Grant knows this. The whole pack knows this. But he hasn't rejected her claim because he hasn't found his true mate. Until now. Andrea said softly, No. Kara stood up, pacing to the window. Outside, she could see wolves running through the valley, their silver forms moving in perfect coordination. This is crazy. I've known him for 3 days. You can't just decide someone is your mate after 3 days. You don't decide, Margaret said. The moon decides. And the moon chose you and Grant long before either of you were born. Kara pressed her forehead against the cool glass. He hasn't said anything. Hasn't acted like, because he's alpha, Andrea interrupted. And you're an unclaimed wolf who hasn't even shifted yet. If he pursued you now, before you've learned control, before you understand pack law and dynamics, he'd be taking advantage. Grant Hopkins is many things, but he's not that kind of man. So what? I'm just supposed to wait? See if these feelings are real or just some supernatural bond forcing me to. The mate bond doesn't force anything, Margaret said firmly. It shows you potential, a path the moon has laid out, but you always have the choice to walk it or not. Both of you do. A knock at the door interrupted them. A young male wolf poked his head in one of the medical assistants. Sorry to interrupt, but Alpha Grant is requesting Kara's presence in his office. Immediately, Kara's stomach flipped. Why? The assistant shifted uncomfortably. He didn't say. Just that it was urgent. Andrea squeezed Kara's shoulder. Go. I'll stay with Margaret. And Kara? Whatever this is about, trust your instincts. They won't steer you wrong. Grant's office was on the top floor of the main lodge, accessed by a private elevator that required a keycard. The assistant led her to it, then handed her a temporary card and retreated quickly, as if he didn't want to be anywhere near whatever was about to happen. The elevator opened directly into a massive space that took up the entire top floor. One wall was all windows, offering a panoramic view of the valley. The others were lined with bookshelves, weapons displays, and maps marking what Kara assumed were pack territories. Grant stood at the windows, his back to her, hands clasped behind him. He was still in training clothes, athletic pants, and a compression shirt that did nothing to hide the powerful lines of his body. His dark hair was damp with sweat. Close the door, he said without turning around. Kara did, the soft click seeming too loud in the quiet space. In 3 days, you'll shift for the first time, Grant said, still not looking at her. After that, you'll be a full member of this pack with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Which means there are things you need to know before that happens. Things I've been avoiding. He finally turned to face her, and Kara sucked in a breath. His eyes were glowing silver, so bright they were almost white. His wolf was close to the surface, barely contained. You feel it, he said. Not a question. The pull between us. The recognition. There was no point in denying it. Yes. Do you know what it means? Andrea and my grandmother seem to think. I'm not asking what they think. I'm asking if you know. He moved closer, each step deliberate. The mate bond is sacred among our kind. When the moon marks two wolves as potential mates, it's considered a gift, a blessing, but it's also a burden. Because once the bond is fully formed, it can never be broken, not without destroying both wolves. He was close enough now that Kara could feel the heat radiating from him, could smell pine and snow and something uniquely him. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. Neither did I. His voice was rough. I've spent 35 years leading this pack, and in all that time, I've never felt the mate bond. Watched other wolves find their matches, settle down, start families. Told myself I didn't need it, that the pack was enough. And now? Now you walk into my territory, carrying a bloodline I thought extinct, and my wolf recognizes you instantly. He lifted his hand, hovering it over the mark on her wrist, without quite touching. This shouldn't be possible. You haven't even shifted yet. The bond shouldn't activate until after your first change. But my wolf doesn't care about should or shouldn't. It wants you. Wants to claim you, mark you, bind you to me so completely that no other wolf would dare look at you. Kara's breath came faster. But you're 23 years old. You've known about our world for 3 days. You haven't chosen this life, you were forced into it to save your grandmother. And I won't be another person who takes your choice away. He finally met her eyes, and the raw honesty in his expression nearly broke her. So I'm telling you now, before the shift, before the bond grows stronger, I feel it. My wolf has chosen you. But what happens next is entirely your decision. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Kara's mind raced. 3 days ago, she'd been a waitress living above a Chinese restaurant, her biggest worry paying rent and taking care of her grandmother. Now she was standing in front of a werewolf alpha king who'd just told her they were potential mates, and somehow, impossibly, part of her wanted it, wanted him. What if I don't want to decide, she asked. What if I want to finish my year of service, learn what I am, and then figure out the rest? Something flickered in Grant's eyes, disappointment, relief? Then that's what we'll do. The bond will wait. It's patient. But Kara, you need to understand what you're walking into. There are wolves in this pack who already see you as a threat. When you shift, when the bond becomes obvious to others, that threat assessment will intensify. Some will try to drive you away. Others, he paused, others will try to kill you before you can claim the position of alpha female. I don't want to be alpha female. Doesn't matter. The mate bond chooses what it chooses. And in pack hierarchy, the alpha's mate is second in power only to the alpha himself. That's a position many wolves would kill for. Marion. He was talking about Marion. So, what do I do? Kara asked. You survive. You get stronger. You prove that you're not weak, not a liability, not easy prey. Grant's hand finally made contact, his fingers wrapping around her wrist where the mark glowed. The electric spark flared, so intense that Kara gasped. And you trust me, to keep you alive long enough to make your choice. His thumb traced the mark, and Kara felt it like a brand, hot and claiming. The full moon is in 3 days. Your shift will be violent, painful, and terrifying. Every first shift is. But I'll be there. I'll guide you through it, keep you grounded. And if your wolf tries to run, tries to hurt someone, I'll stop it. What if you can't? Then I'll kill you. The words were brutal, honest. Because a feral wolf on pack lands is a death sentence for everyone around it. I won't let you endanger this pack mate bond or not. Kara should have been terrified. Should have pulled away, demanded to be released from her agreement, run as far and fast as she could. But instead, she felt safe. Because Grant was honest. Brutally, painfully honest. He wasn't making promises he couldn't keep or painting pretty pictures of what her life would be. He was showing her reality and trusting her to be strong enough to handle it. Okay, she said. Okay? I'll train. I'll get stronger. I'll survive the shift. And then, we'll see what happens next. Grant studied her for a long moment, his silver eyes searching hers for something. Whatever he found seemed to satisfy him because he nodded. Good. Now, there's something else. He moved to his desk, pulling out a leather-bound book that looked ancient. The cover was worn smooth with age, and symbols were carved into it, moons and wolves in shapes Kara didn't recognize. This belonged to Elizabeth Silvermane, Grant said, handling the book with reverence. She left it with the pack when she passed. It's her healer's journal techniques, herbs, rituals. Everything she learned about channeling the moon's power through her bloodline. He held it out to Kara, and she took it with trembling hands. The moment her fingers touched the leather, the mark on her wrist blazed hot. The book seemed to hum with power, recognizing her blood. If you truly are a healer, Grant said, this book will teach you. But Kara, you need to understand using those powers will paint an even bigger target on your back. Healers are rare. Powerful healers are rarer still. Every pack in the territory will want to claim you, and many will be willing to go to war to do it. Then why give it to me? Kara asked. Because this pack is dying. Grant's voice went quiet, heavy with a burden he'd been carrying alone. The sickness I mentioned, it's getting worse. 3 wolves have died in the last year from wounds that should have healed in days. Our young are being born weaker, smaller. The pack bond is fraying at the edges. Andrea is doing everything she can, but it's not enough. He moved back to the window, his silhouette dark against the setting sun. I brought you here hoping you might have the gift, hoping you could save us. But I won't force it. If you want to put that book away, never open it. Serve your year in other ways, I'll understand. The choice is yours. Kara looked down at the book in her hands. She could feel the weight of it, not just physical but spiritual. This was her great-great-grandmother's legacy, the knowledge of a woman who'd saved an entire pack from extinction. And now that pack needed saving again. I'll try, Kara said. I can't promise I'll be any good at it, or that I'll even have the gift, but I'll try. Grant turned, and for the first time since she'd met him, he smiled. Really smiled. It transformed his face, softening the harsh lines and making him look younger, almost boyish. That's all I can ask, he said. A howl split the air outside, sharp, urgent, followed by others joining in. Grant's head snapped toward the window, his body going rigid. What is it? Kara asked. Intruders. Grant was already moving toward the elevator, his casual demeanor replaced by lethal focus. Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except Andrea or Rex. What's happening? Another pack has crossed into our territory. He hit the elevator button, then looked back at her one last time. And they're asking for you by name. The elevator doors closed, leaving Kara alone in the office with her great-great-grandmother's book and the sound of wolves howling war cries in the valley below. She moved to the window, watching as dozens of silver wolves poured from the lodge, forming defensive lines. And beyond them, at the edge of the tree line, she could see other wolves, larger, darker, with eyes that glowed red in the gathering dusk. They'd come for her. Already, the mark on Kara's wrist burned like fire, and deep in her chest, something growled. 3 days until the full moon, 3 days until her first shift, but the war for her survival had just begun. Chapter 6. Blood and Betrayal. Kara pressed her face against the window, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the scene unfold below. The Silver Crest wolves had formed a wall between the lodge and the intruders, their silver fur gleaming in the moonlight. At the center stood Grant, still in human form but radiating power that made even the distance between them feel charged. The dark wolves at the tree line numbered maybe 20, but they moved with the confidence of a much larger force. At their head was a massive black wolf, easily as large as Grant would be in his shifted form, with those unsettling red eyes that seemed to glow from within. Kara's hands tightened on the windowsill. She should stay here, like Grant ordered. She was untrained, unshifted, useless in a fight, but they were here for her. She'd heard Grant say it. The black wolf shifted, its form blurring and reforming until a man stood in its place. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair that fell to his shoulders, and a face that might have been handsome if not for the cruel set of his mouth. He wore simple clothing, jeans, and a leather jacket, but carried himself like royalty. Even from this distance, Kara could feel the wrongness of him. Where Grant's power felt like a warm hearth fire, contained but substantial, this man's power felt like radiation, toxic, invasive, wrong. She couldn't hear what was being said, but she could see Grant's posture go rigid. Behind him, Rex and Eula had shifted, their wolves flanking their alpha protectively. More silver crest wolves continued to pour from the lodge, swelling their numbers. The dark stranger said something, gesturing toward the lodge, toward this window, toward Kara. Grant's response was immediate. He shifted in a blur of motion, his human form melting into a massive silver wolf that was somehow even more intimidating than his human shape. He was larger than any wolf Kara had seen in the pack, his fur seeming to shimmer with an inner light. When he growled, she could hear it even through the thick windows, a sound that vibrated in her bones and made every instinct scream danger. The black wolf, the stranger, didn't seem impressed. He shifted back into his wolf form, and the two alphas began circling each other, packs watching, waiting for the first strike. Kara couldn't watch Grant fight alone. Not when this was her fault. She grabbed Elizabeth's journal, tucked it into the waistband of her leggings, and ran for the elevator. Her temporary keycard worked, and she jabbed the button for the ground floor with shaking fingers. The elevator seemed to take forever. When the doors finally opened, the lodge was chaos. Wolves in human form rushed past, some carrying weapons, others stripping off clothes in preparation to shift. The few pack members too young or old to fight were being herded into interior rooms by guardians. "What the hell are you doing down here?" Rex appeared at her elbow, grabbing her arm. He was half-shifted, his features caught between human and wolf, elongated canines, clawed hands, eyes glowing amber. "Grant said to stay upstairs." "They came for me," Kara said. "I need to." "You need to not get yourself killed." Rex dragged her toward a hallway. "Come on, there's a safe room in the basement. Reinforced walls. Emergency supplies." "No." Kara wrenched her arm free, surprising them both with her strength. The mark on her wrist was blazing now, so hot it should have burned her skin. "I'm not hiding while people fight because of me." "Who are they? What do they want?" Rex's jaw worked, conflict clear on his face. Finally, he cursed under his breath. "Mitchell Figueroa, Alpha of the Nightshade Pack. Biggest pack in the Western Territories, maybe 300 strong. They're known for being..." He paused, clearly choosing his words carefully. "Aggressive. They believe in the old ways, challenge and conquest, taking what you want through force. And what does he want with me? What do you think?" Rex's voice was grim. "You're a Silvermane healer who hasn't been claimed by any alpha. To him, you're a prize to be won. If he can take you from Grant, it makes him look stronger and gives his pack a powerful asset. I'm not an asset. I'm a person. Try explaining that to Mitchell." Rex looked toward the front doors, where they could hear growling and the sound of claws on stone. "Look, I need to get back out there. Grant will have my hide if you get hurt. So please, for the love of the moon, stay inside." He shifted fully and bounded toward the door, leaving Kara standing in the hallway alone. She should go to the safe room. Should let the trained warriors handle this. But her feet carried her forward, toward the entrance, drawn by something she couldn't name. The mark on her wrist pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, and she could feel Grant, now feel his presence like a compass needle pointing north. The mate bond, awakening whether she was ready or not. He was in pain. The knowledge hit her like a physical blow, stealing her breath. She could feel the echo of it through the bond claws raking across ribs, teeth finding purchase in muscle. He was fighting, bleeding, hurting, and she was doing nothing. Kara burst through the front doors into the cold night air. The scene before her was primal, violent, and utterly terrifying. Grant and Mitchell were locked in combat in the center of the clearing, a blur of silver and black fur. Blood stained the snow beneath them, whose blood Kara couldn't tell. Around them, the two packs held their positions, but the tension was explosive. One wrong move, and this would turn into an all-out war. Mitchell had his jaws clamped around Grant's foreleg, shaking viciously. Grant twisted, using his greater size to throw the black wolf off, then lunged for Mitchell's throat. They came together with a sickening crunch, rolling through the snow in a tangle of fangs and fury. "Kara, get back inside!" Andrea's voice came from somewhere to her left, but Kara couldn't look away from the fight. Grant was stronger, she could see that. But Mitchell fought dirty, going for eyes, hamstrings, vulnerable joints. And while Grant was trying to drive the intruder away, Mitchell was trying to kill. The black wolf managed to sink his teeth into Grant's shoulder, tearing deep. Grant's pained howl split the air, and Kara felt it like a knife to her own chest. The mate bond blazed, demanding she do something, anything to help her alpha. Without thinking, Kara started running toward them. "No!" Multiple voices shouted, but Kara was beyond hearing. The mark on her wrist was burning so hot it should have charred flesh, and power was building inside her foreign, overwhelming, desperate to get out. She skidded to a stop 20 feet from the fighting alphas. "Stop!" Her voice came out wrong, deeper, resonant with power that shouldn't exist in her fully human throat. It echoed across the clearing with enough force to make several wolves stumble. Both alphas froze, turning to look at her with glowing eyes. Mitchell shifted first, blood dripping from his mouth as he returned to human form. Up close, his wrongness was even more apparent. His red eyes were cold, calculating, and when he smiled, his teeth were still pointed. "So this is the little Silvermane everyone's fighting over. You're smaller than I expected." "Leave," Kara said, her voice still carrying that strange resonance. "You're not welcome here. I don't think you understand how this works, little wolf." Mitchell took a step closer, and several Silvercrest wolves growled in warning. "You're unclaimed. That makes you fair game. And I'm claiming you. Come with me willingly, and I'll call off my wolves. No more bloodshed. Grant gets to keep his pack intact, and you get to come home with a real alpha." I said no. "I don't think you have a choice." Mitchell's smile widened. "You're not even shifted yet. You're helpless, weak, but with the right training, the right alpha to guide you, you could be magnificent." Grant shifted, standing between Kara and Mitchell despite his injuries. Blood matted his dark hair, and his chest heaved with exertion. "Touch her and die, Mitchell. That's not a threat. It's a promise. You can't fight all of us, Hopkins." Mitchell gestured to his pack. "I brought 20 of my best warriors. Your pack might outnumber us, but by the time it's over, how many of your wolves will be dead? How much of your territory will run red with blood? Is one unclaimed female worth that cost?" Kara could see the calculation in Grant's eyes, the terrible math of an alpha who had to choose between personal desire and pack safety. "She's not worth it," a voice called out. Kara turned to see Marion pushing through the Silvercrest wolves, her golden eyes fixed on Grant. "Alpha, think about this rationally. She's been here less than a week. She hasn't shifted, hasn't proven herself, hasn't contributed anything to this pack. Mitchell's right, is she worth starting a war?" Several wolves murmured agreement. Kara could see the doubt spreading through the pack like poison. They didn't know her, didn't trust her. Why should they fight for her? "You want me?" Kara heard herself say, her voice steady despite the fear flooding her system. "Then fight for me. Traditional challenge. You and Grant. One-on-one. To first blood or submission." "Kara, no." Grant started, but Mitchell laughed. "Finally, someone with sense. I accept. Traditional challenge rules: the winner takes the prize. The loser slinks home with his tail between his legs." Mitchell cracked his knuckles, his red eyes gleaming. "This will be fun." 3 days, Kara said. The words came from somewhere deep inside, some instinct she didn't understand. 3 days from now, under the full moon. That gives Grant time to heal from the wounds you already gave him, and it gives me time to complete my first shift. Because after the challenge, whoever wins, I'm going to fight them too. Silence fell over the clearing. Even Mitchell looked surprised. "You want to fight the victor?" he asked. "You, a first shifter who's never even transformed? That's exactly what I want." Kara forced herself to meet his red eyes without flinching. "You think I'm a prize to be won? Prove you can actually handle me. If Grant wins and I beat him afterward, I walk away from both packs with no debt. If you win and I beat you, same deal. But if either of you beats me, she swallowed hard, then I'll accept the claim. Willingly. This is insane, Marion hissed. Grant, you can't agree to this. I accept, Grant said. His silver eyes locked on Kara's face. There was something in his expression she couldn't read. Pride? Fury? Fear? 3 days. Full moon. My territory. My rules. Mitchell studied them both, then shrugged. Why not? Either way, I get what I came for: a fight with Grant Hopkins and a shot at claiming a Silvermane healer. I accept your terms, little wolf. 3 days. Try not to die of fear before then. He shifted back into his black wolf form, and his pack melted back into the trees as quickly as they'd appeared. Within moments, they were gone, leaving only paw prints in the snow and the metallic scent of blood. The Silvercrest wolf stood frozen, staring at Kara like she'd grown a second head. Grant shifted back to human form, and Kara tried very hard not to notice that he was completely naked and bleeding from at least 5 different wounds. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking that I'm tired of people deciding my fate without my input, Kara shot back. You, Mitchell, Marion, everyone seems to have an opinion about what I should do, where I should go, who I should belong to. Well, guess what? I belong to myself. And if 2 alphas want to fight over me like I'm a chew toy, then I'm damn well going to have a say in how this ends. You just challenged an alpha to single combat, Grant said, his voice dangerously quiet. Do you understand what that means? Mitchell has been fighting for 30 years. He's killed challengers who had decades of experience. And you haven't even shifted yet. Then I guess you better make sure I survive my first shift, Kara said. Because in 3 days, I'm fighting whoever wins your little pissing contest. She turned and marched back toward the lodge, her legs shaking so badly she was amazed they held her up. Behind her, she could hear Grant barking orders: perimeter guards, injury assessment, emergency protocols. Andrea caught up with her at the door, grabbing her arm gently. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Probably stupid, Kara admitted. Her adrenaline was crashing, and the full weight of what she'd just done was starting to sink in. Andrea, I can't beat an alpha in a fight. I can barely beat Hugo, and he's going easy on me. Then you'll have to find another way to win. Andrea steered her toward the medical wing. Come on. You triggered something when you used that voice, the alpha command, days before your first shift. That shouldn't be possible. Which means your wolf is already closer to the surface than any of us realized. We need to check your vitals and make sure you're not going into early shift. What happens if I shift early? Andrea's expression was grim. Without proper preparation and guidance, you'll likely die. Or go feral, and we'll have to put you down. Neither option is great. They passed other pack members in the hallway, all of whom stared at Kara with new expressions. Some looked impressed, others looked terrified. A few looked angry. Marion stood at the end of the corridor, her arms crossed and her golden eyes cold. You think you're clever, don't you? Setting up your little challenge, making yourself look brave and independent. I think I'm trying to survive, Kara said tiredly. You just made Grant look weak in front of another alpha, made it seem like he can't control his own pack members. Do you understand what you've done? I understand that Mitchell was going to push for a fight anyway, Kara said. At least this way, it's contained. Traditional challenge rules instead of pack war. And what happens when you lose? Marion stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. When Mitchell tears you apart in front of everyone, you'll have died for nothing. And Grant will have to live with the fact that he couldn't protect his. She stopped abruptly, biting off the word. His what? Kara asked. His mate? Is that what you were going to say? Marion's face went carefully blank. You're not his mate. Not officially. Not until you shift and the bond is confirmed. And even then, Grant has the right to reject it. To choose someone more suitable for the role of alpha female. Someone like you. Kara heard the unspoken words. You're right, Kara said softly. He does have that right. And when the time comes, he'll make his choice. But Marion? So will I. And no amount of political maneuvering or pack tradition will change the fact that I decide who I belong to. Not you, not Mitchell, not even Grant. Me. She walked away, leaving Marion standing in the corridor, her expression twisted with something that looked like rage and fear in equal measure. In the medical wing, Andrea ran tests while Kara sat on an examination table, staring at the mark on her wrist. It had finally stopped burning, but the glow remained, pulsing softly with silver light. "Your temperature is elevated," Andrea said, checking her tablet. Heart rate accelerated, bone density increasing. "Your body is preparing for the shift faster than normal. Is that bad?" "It's unusual. Most first shifters have a week or more of gradual changes. You're compressing that into days." Andrea met her eyes. "The stress of what happened tonight, the mate bond activating. Using the alpha voice, it's all pushing your wolf to the surface faster. You need to be careful, Kara. If you push too hard before you're ready, your body might try to shift before the full moon, and without the moon's power to guide you through it. I'll die screaming." "I know," Grant told me. Kara lay back on the table, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "Andrea, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you think I can do this? Survive the shift, fight Mitchell or Grant, actually have a choice in my own life?" Andrea was quiet for a long moment. "I think Elizabeth Silvermane walked into a dying pack and saved everyone through sheer force of will and her gift. I think her blood runs through your veins, and that's not a small thing. I think you've survived everything life has thrown at you so far, abandonment, poverty, loss, and you're still standing. So yes, Kara, I think you can do this. But wanting to survive and being able to survive are different things. The next 3 days will determine which one you are." Andrea helped her sit up. "Now go. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, your real training begins." Kara made her way back to her room, her body feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She could hear the pack throughout the lodge, conversations about the challenge, speculation about her chances, bets being placed on whether she'd survive the shift. When she finally collapsed into bed, still fully clothed, sleep claimed her immediately, and in her dreams, she ran through forests under a silver moon, her body sleek and powerful and covered in silver fur. In her dreams, she was finally, fully herself. In 3 days, she'd find out if those dreams were prophetic, or if they were just the last beautiful lie before everything fell apart. Chapter 7. The Moon's Daughter. The next morning, Kara woke to find her room filled with wolves. Not literally, they were all in human form, but 6-pack members stood around her bed in a semicircle, watching her sleep with the intensity of predators studying prey. Kara shot upright, her heart hammering. "What the hell?" "Relax," said a woman Kara recognized from training, Nelda Roberson, one of the senior warriors. She had steel gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and scars crisscrossing her muscular arms. "Alpha's orders. You've got a target on your back now, so you get a protection detail. We go where you go. I don't need babysitters. What you need is to stay alive long enough to make it to the full moon," said another warrior, a man with a shaved head and kind eyes. "I'm Lyle Harrington. I'll be on your detail during daylight hours. Nelda takes nights." Kara rubbed her eyes, trying to process waking up to an audience. "This is insane." "This is protocol," Nelda said. "An outside alpha has made a claim on you, which makes you a potential kidnapping target. Until the challenge is resolved, you don't go anywhere alone. Not to train, not to eat, not to piss. Understand?" It was humiliating and comforting in equal measure. Kara nodded reluctantly. "Good. Now get dressed. Alpha wants you in the training ring in 20 minutes. And trust me, you don't want to be late." The training ring was already occupied when Kara arrived, flanked by her protection detail. Grant stood in the center, shirtless despite the morning chill, his torso wrapped in bandages from last night's fight. The wounds should have taken weeks to heal on a human, but already Kara could see pink new skin peeking through the gauze. Eula stood beside him. Along with Hugo and 3 other wolves, Kara didn't know all of them, radiating the kind of dangerous competence that came from decades of combat experience. "You're late," Grant said, his silver eyes cold. "By 30 seconds. I didn't have a watch. Excuses get you killed." He gestured to the assembled warriors. "For the next 3 days, these wolves are going to teach you everything they can cram into your skull about surviving a fight you have no business being in. They're going to hurt you. break bones if necessary, push you past every limit you think you have, and you're going to take it and ask for more. Clear? Kara's jaw tightened. Crystal, good. Hugo, she's yours. What followed was the most brutal 3 hours of Kara's life. Hugo didn't hold back anymore. He came at her with the full force of his experience, exploiting every weakness, every hesitation. Within the first 10 minutes, Kara had a split lip and a bloody nose. By the 30-minute mark, she was pretty sure her ribs were cracked. But something strange was happening. Her body was adapting faster than it should. Injuries that should have kept her down for hours healed in minutes. Her reflexes sharpened with each exchange. And the mark on her wrist pulsed with heat, feeding her strength she shouldn't possess. Again, Hugo barked when she went down for the 10th time. Kara dragged herself upright, spitting blood. Again, they went again. And again. And again. By the time Grant called a halt, Kara had actually managed to land 3 solid hits on Hugo, not enough to hurt him, but enough to make him nod with approval. Better, Grant said, tossing her a water bottle. But not good enough. Mitchell fights dirty. He'll go for your eyes, your throat, anything that'll cripple you fast. You need to be meaner. I don't know how to be mean, Kara gasped, drinking deeply. Then learn, because nice wolves die, and dead wolves don't get to make choices about their own lives. Grant moved into the ring, and Kara's protection detail immediately stepped back, giving their alpha space. My turn. Attack me. Kara stared at him. You're injured. I'm healing. And if you can't bring yourself to attack an injured opponent, you've already lost. Now attack me, or I'll attack you. He gave her 3 seconds before he moved. Grant was nothing like Hugo. Where the weapons master was methodical and technical, Grant was pure predatory instinct wrapped in calculated violence. He didn't just counter her attacks, he anticipated them, flowing around her strikes like water and delivering punishing blows that sent her sprawling. But he was also teaching her. Each time she went down, he'd pause, explain what she'd done wrong, show her how to adjust. And slowly, painfully, Kara began to understand the language of combat, the subtle shifts in weight that telegraphed movement, the rhythm of breathing that preceded an attack, the way to use an opponent's momentum against them. You're thinking too much, Grant said after throwing her for the 20th time. Your human brain is trying to analyze everything, plan your moves, but in a real fight, you don't have time to think. You have to feel. Let your instincts guide you. My instincts are telling me to run away, Kara said, pushing herself up on shaking arms. Then override them. Find the part of you that doesn't want to run, the part that wants to fight, to prove yourself, to win. He offered her a hand up, and when she took it, that electric spark flared again. Your wolf is in there, Kara. Closer to the surface than you realize. Stop trying to be human and start learning to be wild. Something in his words resonated. Kara closed her eyes, reaching for that presence she'd felt in her dreams, the silver wolf that ran through moonlit forests without fear. When she opened her eyes again, the world had shifted. Colors were sharper, sounds clearer. She could smell Grant's scent, pine and snow, and something uniquely him, could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong, and she could see the opening in his stance, the slight favor he was giving his injured side. Kara moved without thinking. She feinted left, then dropped low and swept his legs. Grant, caught off guard, went down. Kara followed, driving her elbow toward his solar plexus. He caught her arm, but instead of throwing her off, his eyes widened with something like pride. There. That's your wolf. Hold on to that feeling. They were inches apart, his body warm beneath hers, his silver eyes holding her captive. The mate bond flared, hot and demanding, and for a moment, Kara forgot where they were, forgot the audience watching, forgot everything except the alpha beneath her and the wild, desperate need rising in her chest. Get a room, Rex called from the sidelines. Breaking the spell, Kara scrambled off Grant, her face burning. Grant stood smoothly, not even breathing hard, though his eyes had gone molten silver. Take 30 minutes, he said, his voice rougher than usual. Eat something. Hydrate. Then we're working on your defensive forms. Lunch was a quiet affair in Kara's room, her protection detail stationed outside the door. Andrea had sent up another mountain of food, and Kara ate mechanically while paging through Elizabeth's journal. The book was written in flowing script. The pages yellowed with age but remarkably well preserved. Most of it was in English, but certain passages were written in what looked like Latin, and others in a language Kara didn't recognize. Angular symbols that seemed to shimmer on the page. "The gift of the Silvermane bloodline is not gentle," Elizabeth had written on one page. "It demands sacrifice. To heal others, we must first understand pain. To mend broken bones, we must feel the echo of their breaking. To cure sickness, we must taste its poison, but the moon provides. When the gift threatens to consume us, the moon's light restores balance. We are conduits, not sources. We channel power greater than ourselves, and in doing so, we become part of something vast and eternal." Kara's fingers traced the words, and the mark on her wrist pulsed warmly. She flipped forward, looking for something practical, some technique she could actually use. Near the middle of the journal, she found a section titled "The First Healing." Every Silvermane must complete their first healing under the full moon that follows their first shift, Elizabeth had written. This is when the gift awakens fully. When the moon recognizes her daughter and grants her the power to mend what is broken. The healing will take one of 3 forms, depending on the need: physical, spiritual, or soul deep. Physical healings mend the body, broken bones, torn flesh, disease. Spiritual healings mend the mind, trauma, madness, despair. Soul deep healings mend the essence, bonds broken. Wolves lost to their beasts, the dying brought back from the edge. But beware, every healing has a cost. The more severe the injury, the greater the price the healer must pay. Some Silvermanes have healed so deeply that they've traded years of their own life to restore another. Others have taken on the pain they've healed, carrying scars that never truly fade. Choose your healings wisely. The moon's power is infinite, but your vessel is not. A knock at the door interrupted her reading. "Kara? It's Andrea. Can I come in?" "Sure." Andrea entered, medical bag in hand, and immediately started checking Kara's vitals. "How are you feeling? Any dizziness, nausea, unexplained rage?" "Just the regular rage that comes from getting my ass kicked for 3 hours straight." Andrea smiled, but her eyes were concerned. "Your temperature is up another 2 degrees. Your bone density has increased by 15% since yesterday. Your body is preparing for the shift at an accelerated rate. Is that going to be a problem?" "It might be. Most first shifters have a week of gradual changes that let their body adjust. You're cramming it all into 3 days because of the stress and the mate bond activation." Andrea pulled out a syringe. "I'm going to give you a mild sedative tonight. Not enough to knock you out, but enough to slow your metabolism and give your body time to process the changes. If you shift before the full moon, you'll die. We need to make sure that doesn't happen." Kara submitted to the injection, then asked the question that had been bothering her. "Andrea, what happens if I complete my first shift but I'm too weak to fight afterward? I've heard shifting is exhausting." "It is. Most first shifters sleep for 12 hours after their initial transformation." Andrea packed away her supplies. "But you won't have that luxury. Which is why Grant is training you so hard right now, building up your physical reserves so that even exhausted, you'll have enough strength to stand." "You really think I can beat an alpha?" Andrea sat on the edge of the bed, her expression serious. "Honestly, in a straight fight, no. Mitchell has decades of experience, and the kind of ruthlessness that comes from growing up in a brutal pack. But Kara, you don't have to beat him. You just have to survive long enough to prove you're not an easy claim. Make him work for it. Make him bleed. Show him and everyone watching that claiming you isn't worth the cost. And if that doesn't work, then Grant will intervene. The challenge allows for that. If a third party wants to claim the prize, they can issue their own challenge to the victor." Andrea squeezed her hand. "Grant won't let Mitchell take you, even if it means fighting to the death." The weight of that settled on Kara's chest. Grant would die for her. A man she'd known for less than a week would sacrifice everything because some cosmic bond said they were meant to be together. "I don't want anyone dying for me," Kara said quietly. "Then get strong enough that they don't have to." The afternoon session focused on defensive techniques, how to minimize damage, protect vital organs, use leverage to escape holds. Kara worked with Eula while Grant supervised, occasionally calling out corrections. By evening, Kara could barely walk. Every muscle screamed. Her healing ability was working overtime, but even that had limits. "That's enough for today," Grant finally said as the sun began to set. "Tomorrow we work on offensive patterns. The day after, we simulate the actual challenge. And then it's the full moon," Kara finished. Grant nodded. "Get some rest. You'll need it." As the other warriors dispersed, Grant lingered. Kara's protection detail had stepped back to give them privacy, but she could feel their watchful presence. "You did well today," Grant said. "Better than I expected. I got my ass handed to me." "Yes, but you kept getting back up. That's what matters." He moved closer, his voice dropping. "Kara, I need you to understand something. When you fight Mitchell, he's going to try to make you submit. Not just physically, but mentally. He'll use Alpha Command, try to force your wolf into submission before it's even fully formed. You need to resist that." "How?" "Focus on the mate bond. It'll shield you from his influence, not completely, but enough to give you a fighting chance." Grant's jaw tightened. "And if it looks like you're going to lose, if he's about to kill you, I need you to submit. Say the words, yield to his claim." "What?" "No. Listen to me." Grant's hands gripped her shoulders. "If you submit, he can't kill you. Pack law forbids it. You'll be bound to him, yes, but you'll be alive. And I can challenge him afterward, fight to reclaim you. I'm not a prize to be passed around." Kara shoved his hands away. "And I'm not submitting to anyone. Not Mitchell, not even you. I'd rather die fighting than live as someone's property." "You'd rather die?" Grant's voice went dangerously soft. "You'd rather leave your grandmother alone, leave this pack without a healer, leave me." He stopped, his control visibly fraying. "Don't be stupid, Kara. Pride isn't worth your life." "My freedom is worth my life." Kara met his silver eyes without flinching. "And if you can't understand that, then maybe we're not as compatible as the moon seems to think." Grant stared at her for a long moment, a dozen emotions flickering across his face: anger, fear, frustration, and underneath it all, something that looked painfully like admiration. "You're going to drive me insane," he said finally. "Good. Keeps things interesting." Despite everything, Grant's lips quirked. "Get some rest, little wolf. Tomorrow, I'm not holding back." He left, and Kara made her way back to her room with her guard detail shadowing her steps. As she passed through the lodge, she caught sight of Marion watching from an upper balcony, her golden eyes calculating. In her room, Kara collapsed onto the bed and opened Elizabeth's journal again, desperate for any insight that might help her survive what was coming. Near the back of the book, she found a passage that made her blood run cold. "The greatest danger to a Silvermane healer is not the enemy without, but the enemy within. Our gift makes us valuable, and value makes us targets. There will always be wolves who seek to control us, to use us as weapons or tools or prizes, but we are none of those things. We are the moon's chosen, and we bow to no one. If you find yourself forced to fight, remember this: a healer who knows how to break can also know how to mend. Your gift runs both ways. You can sense the flow of life in another's body where their strength pools, where their weaknesses hide, and what can be sensed can be exploited. Use this knowledge carefully. The line between healing and harming is thinner than most realize." Kara read the passage 3 times, her mind racing. Elizabeth was telling her that healing wasn't just about fixing. It was about understanding bodies at such a fundamental level, that she could find vulnerabilities, exploit weaknesses. She could heal, but she could also hurt. The mark on her wrist pulsed, as if responding to her thoughts. Outside her window, the moon was waxing toward full, its silver light calling to something deep inside her. 2 more days. 2 more days until everything changed. Kara closed her eyes and reached for that silver wolf in her dreams, feeling it stir and stretch, eager to be free. "Soon." She promised it. "Soon you'll run. And when you do, we're going to show everyone exactly what a Silvermane wolf can do." Chapter 8: The Shift. The second day of training was worse than the first. Grant made good on his promise not to hold back. He came at Kara with the full force of his alpha strength, throwing her so hard she crashed through the training ring fence. Hugo worked her until her hands bled from blocking his strikes. Eula taught her dirty fighting eye gouges, throat strikes, joint breaks techniques that made Kara's stomach turn but that she practiced anyway because her life might depend on them. By afternoon, Kara had broken her left wrist twice and her right arm once. Each time, Andrea had to reset the bones while Kara bit down on leather to keep from screaming. Each time, the bones healed within an hour, knitting back together faster than any humans could. "Your body is preparing itself," Andrea explained as she wrapped Kara's wrist for the third time. "Building pain tolerance, testing your healing limits. It knows what's coming." What was coming was the full moon. Tomorrow night. Less than 30 hours away. Kara could feel it now, a pull in her chest like a fishhook lodged behind her sternum, tugging her towards something inevitable. The mark on her wrist had stopped pulsing instead. It now glowed constantly, bright enough that she had to wear long sleeves to hide it, and the dreams had intensified. Every time she closed her eyes, she was the silver wolf, running through forests that felt more real than waking life. She could feel the earth beneath her paws, taste the night air, hear the heartbeat of prey miles away. The wolf was eager, restless, clawing at the inside of her skin, demanding release. How much longer? The wolf seemed to ask with every breath Kara took. How much longer must we be trapped? On the evening of the second day, Grant called her to his office again. Kara climbed the stairs slowly, her body aching despite its supernatural healing. Her protection detail Lyle and Nelda today took up positions outside the elevator, giving her privacy with their alpha. Grant stood at his desk, examining what looked like a detailed map of the valley. He looked up when she entered, and Kara was struck again by how devastating he was. Not handsome, exactly, but powerful in a way that made her heart race and her wolf perk up with interest. "Tomorrow night," he said without preamble. "Your first shift happens at moonrise. I've cleared the southern forest for you, 300 acres where you can run without encountering other pack members. Andrea and I will guide you through the transformation, and afterward, your wolf will need to hunt. It's instinctive. Don't fight it, and if I can't shift, if my body tries and fails, then I'll make your death quick," Grant said with brutal honesty. "But that won't happen. Your body is ready. More than ready, you're practically vibrating with moon energy." It was true. Kara felt like a live wire, electricity crackling just beneath her skin. "The challenge happens an hour after your shift," Grant continued. "That doesn't give you much time to recover." But Mitchell insisted on pack law timing first shift and challenge on the same moon cycle. "He's hoping you'll be too weak to put up a real fight." "Will I be?" Grant's jaw tightened. "Probably. But you're Silvermane. Your bloodline has survived worse." He moved around the desk, pulling out a leather bundle. When he unwrapped it, Kara saw clothing soft, leather pants and a simple wrap top, both in deep gray that would blend with the forest. "For after the shift," Grant explained. "Your clothes won't survive the transformation. These are spelled by our pack witch to be more durable, harder to tear. They won't stop claws or teeth, but they'll stay intact through most of a fight." Kara took the bundle, running her fingers over the buttery soft leather. "Your pack has a witch?" "Most packs do. Ours is. Temperamental, but effective." Grant hesitated, then reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a small silver pendant on a leather cord. The pendant was shaped like a crescent moon with a wolf howling at its center. "This belonged to my mother," he said quietly. "She gave it to me before she died. Told me to give it to my mate when I found her." He held it out. "I want you to wear it tomorrow. During the shift. During the challenge. It's been blessed by every pack witch we've had for 3 generations. It won't protect you from physical harm, but it'll ground you. Keep you connected to yourself even when the wolf tries to take over." Kara stared at the pendant. "Grant, I can't. This is your mother's, which is why I know she'd want you to have it." He stepped closer, and Kara could smell pine and snow, and something warm beneath. "Kara, I need to tell you something. Before tomorrow happens, before everything changes." His silver eyes held hers, and Kara saw vulnerability there that she'd never seen before. "The mate bond doesn't lie," Grant said. "I've spent 2 days trying to convince myself that what I feel for you is just biological imperative, just my wolf recognizing compatible genetics. But it's not. You infuriate me. You're stubborn and reckless, and you have no sense of self-preservation. You challenged an enemy alpha after knowing our world existed for less than a week. You refused to submit, even when submission might save your life." He reached up, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. "And I have never been more certain of anything in my life than I am that you're mine. That the moon chose perfectly when she marked us for each other." Kara's breath caught. "Grant, you don't have to say anything. You don't owe me anything. But I need you to know, before you fight tomorrow, that if Mitchell kills you, he'll have to go through me first. And if by some miracle you beat him, if you choose to walk away from this pack at the end of your year, I'll let you go. I won't stop you, won't guilt you, won't use the bond to manipulate you into staying." His thumb traced her jawline. "Because you deserve the choice that was taken from your mother, from your grandmother. You deserve to choose your own fate." Tears burned behind Kara's eyes. "What if I don't know what I want?" "Then you have a year to figure it out." Grant lifted the pendant, carefully placing it around her neck. His fingers brushed the nape of her neck as he fastened the clasp, and Kara shivered. "But know this, I'm not giving up on you. I'm not letting Mitchell take you without a fight. And I'm not letting you die because you're too proud to ask for help." "I don't need help," Kara said automatically. Grant smiled, a real smile that transformed his harsh features. "That's what I would have said too. We're going to be terrible for each other. Or perfect," Kara heard herself say. The air between them went electric. Grant's eyes darkened, his pupils dilating until only a ring of silver remained. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips, and Kara's heart hammered so hard she was sure he could hear it. "After the challenge," he said, his voice rough. "After you've shifted and fought and proven yourself to everyone who doubts you, then I'm going to kiss you properly. And Kara, you're going to kiss me back." "That sounds like alpha command," Kara managed, though her voice came out breathy. "That's a promise." He stepped back, putting distance between them before the tension could snap. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be the hardest day of your life. You'll need your strength." Kara nodded, not trusting her voice. She turned to leave, but stopped at the elevator. "Grant, thank you. For the pendant. For everything." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Save it for after you survive." Kara didn't sleep that night. She tried. She lay in bed, the pendant warm against her chest, Elizabeth's journal open beside her. But her body was too restless, her wolf too close to the surface. Every shadow looked like prey. Every sound made her want to growl. At 3 a.m., she gave up and went to the window. The moon hung huge and silver in the sky, one night away from full. Kara could feel it calling to her, singing a song in her blood that had no words but infinite meaning. The mark on her wrist blazed so bright she could read by its light. "Tomorrow," she whispered to the moon. "Tomorrow I become what I was always meant to be." The moon didn't answer, but Kara felt its approval anyway, a warmth that spread through her chest and settled into her bones. She spent the remaining hours before dawn reading Elizabeth's journal, memorizing techniques and warnings. One passage in particular caught her attention. "The first shift is when a wolf discovers her true nature. Some are born warriors, fierce and unstoppable. Others are born hunters, patient and deadly. Still others are born healers, gentle despite their strength. But the Silvermane wolves are unique. We are all three. We must be, for our gift demands it. We heal with hands that can kill. We hunt with senses that can find any injury. We fight with strength born from understanding the body's every weakness. Embrace all three aspects, deny none of them. This is the Silvermane way." When dawn finally broke, Kara was already awake, already dressed in her training clothes. Her protection detail escorted her to the training ring, where the entire pack had gathered. Grant stood in the center, still shirtless despite the morning chill, his bandages finally removed to reveal new pink scars that would fade within days. Around him stood the senior pack members: Rex, Andrea, Hugo, Eula, and others whose names Kara was still learning. And off to one side, arms crossed and expression hostile, stood Marion. "Today is the last day of preparation," Grant announced, his voice carrying across the assembled wolves. "Tonight, Kara Paul completes her first shift and becomes a full member of this pack. Tomorrow night, she fights for her freedom against Alpha Mitchell Figueroa of the Nightshade Pack." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some supportive, others skeptical. "Some of you don't think she's ready," Grant continued. "Some of you think she's a liability, a weakness, a mistake. You're entitled to those opinions." His silver eyes swept the crowd, and several wolves looked away. "But she's here. She's fighting, and until the challenge is resolved, she's under my personal protection. Anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me directly." Silence. No one was stupid enough to challenge their alpha. Good. Now, everyone who isn't essential to tonight's shift ceremony, clear out. The rest of you, we have work to do. The crowd dispersed, leaving only the core group. Grant gestured for Kara to join him in the center of the ring. "Today we don't train your body," he said. "We train your mind. The shift is as much mental as physical. You need to be able to surrender control to your wolf without losing yourself. Need to trust that your humanity will still be there when you come back. And if it's not, then I failed you as an alpha," Grant said simply. "But that won't happen. Sit." Kara sat cross-legged on the training ring mat. Grant sat across from her, mirroring her position. The morning sun cast his face in sharp relief, highlighting the scars and the strength. "Close your eyes," he said. "Reach for your wolf. Not with fear or force, but with welcome. Invite her in. Let her know she's safe, that you're ready." Kara closed her eyes and turned her awareness inward. The silver wolf was there, pacing and restless, so close to the surface now that Kara could almost feel fur instead of skin. "Hello," Kara thought at it. "I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But tomorrow we get to run. Tomorrow we get to be free." The wolf's ears perked up. "Free?" "Free," Kara confirmed. "No more hiding. No more pretending to be something we're not. Tomorrow we show everyone what we really are." The wolf moved closer in Kara's mind, curious now instead of aggressive. It sniffed at Kara's consciousness, testing, evaluating. And then, impossibly, it spoke. Not with words, but with feelings and images that Kara's human mind translated. Together, Kara promised. She felt the wolf's acceptance like a key turning in a lock. Something that had been tightly wound inside her relaxed, settling into place with a rightness that made her gasp. When she opened her eyes, Grant was smiling. "You did it. I can see it in your eyes. You've made contact with your wolf. How does it feel?" "Like I've been half asleep my entire life, and I'm finally waking up," Kara said. "Good. That's exactly what it should feel like." Grant stood, offering her his hand. "Now comes the hard part. Teaching you to shift between forms at will, not just when the moon forces it, but that's advanced technique. For tonight, just focus on surrendering to the transformation. Let it happen. Don't fight it." They spent the rest of the day in meditation and breathing exercises. Andrea taught Kara visualization techniques, imagining her human form dissolving, reforming, becoming something new. Rex shared stories of his own first shift, making her laugh despite her nerves. Even Eula softened, sitting beside Kara during lunch and offering quiet advice. "It'll hurt like hell, worse than anything you've ever felt. But on the other side is freedom you can't imagine, worth every second of pain." As evening approached, Kara felt the pull of the moon growing stronger. It wasn't even visible yet, still below the horizon, but she could feel it rising. Could feel her body responding, bones beginning to ache, muscles twitching with the need to change. "It's time," Grant said as the sun touched the western mountains. "Andrea, Rex, gather the others. We shift at moonrise." The pack assembled in the southern forest, a clearing ringed by ancient pine trees. Torches had been lit around the perimeter, casting dancing shadows. The senior pack members formed a circle, with Grant and Andrea at Kara's sides. And there, at the edge of the trees, watching with hostile eyes, was Marion. "She doesn't need to be here," Kara said. She's beta female, Grant said. She has the right to witness. Ignore her. Focus on the moon. The sun sank lower. The sky turned from blue to purple to deep indigo. And then, the moon rose. Full and silver and impossibly huge, it crested the mountains like a second sun. The moment its light touched Kara's skin, pain exploded through her body. It was like every bone was breaking at once, like her muscles were tearing themselves apart and reforming. Kara tried to scream, but the sound came out as a howl. She fell to her hands and knees, feeling fur erupting from her skin, feeling her face elongating into a muzzle, feeling her spine extending into a tail. Don't fight it. Grant's voice cut through the agony. Let it happen. But it hurt. God. It hurt worse than anything Kara had ever imagined. She could feel her humanity slipping away, feel the wolf taking over, and terror seized her. What if she couldn't come back? What if this was the last time she'd ever think human thoughts? Together, the wolf reminded her. We're doing this together, right? Together. Kara stopped fighting. She surrendered to the pain, to the transformation, to the wild call of the moon. And suddenly, it wasn't pain anymore. It was power. Strength flooding every cell. Senses exploding into sharper, clearer, more vivid than she'd ever known. The world reformed around her, and Kara realized she was on 4 legs instead of 2. She looked down at her paws, silver fur, powerful muscles, claws that could tear through flesh. She'd done it. She'd shifted. Around her, the pack howled in celebration. Grant shifted, his massive silver wolf padding over to touch his nose to hers in greeting. The alpha's approval, given freely. And deep in Kara's chest, the mate bond blazed to life fully. No longer potential but real and solid and unbreakable. She could feel Grant now, feel his emotions like they were her own pride, relief, and underneath it all, possessive joy. Mine, his wolf said to hers. Ours, her wolf agreed. Grant threw back his head and howled, and Kara joined him. The sound rose into the night, carried by the full moon's power, announcing to every pack within 100 miles that a new wolf had been born, that the Silvermane bloodline had returned. The pack ran then, dozens of wolves streaming through the forest in a river of silver fur. Kara ran with them, her new body strong and fast and perfect. She could smell everything prey in the underbrush. Water from a stream miles away, the unique scent of each pack member. And she could feel the pack bond now, connecting her to all of them. No longer whispers at the edge of her awareness, but a symphony of emotions and sensations. Pack, family, home. They hunted together, bringing down a deer that fed half the pack. Kara's first kill, her wolf's first taste of hot blood and fresh meat. It should have disgusted her human side, but instead, it felt right. Natural. This was what she was meant to be. Hours later, as the moon reached its zenith, Grant led her back to the clearing. The other wolves hung back, giving their alpha privacy with his mate. Grant shifted back to human form, and after a moment's concentration, Kara did the same. The transformation back was easier, almost gentle. One moment fur and 4 legs, the next skin and 2 legs and human thoughts. She was naked, covered in dirt and blood, and she'd never felt more alive. Grant handed her the leather clothing he'd given her, then turned his back to give her privacy to dress. When she was covered, he faced her again, his silver eyes intense. You did it, he said simply. You survived your first shift. How do you feel? Like myself, Kara said. Finally. Completely myself. Human and wolf. Both and neither. Good. Grant glanced at the moon, calculating. You have 1 hour before the challenge. Mitchell will be here at midnight. Use the time to rest, to center yourself. Remember everything we've taught you. Kara nodded, then looked down at her hands. In human form, they looked normal, but she could still feel the wolf beneath her skin, ready to emerge if needed. And she could feel something else. A warmth in her palms, a tingling that reminded her of the mark on her wrist. She thought of Elizabeth's words about healing and hurting being 2 sides of the same gift. Grant, she said slowly, I think I know how to beat Mitchell. How? Kara smiled, and it was her wolf's smile, all teeth and confidence. You'll see. But I'm going to need you to trust me. Grant studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Always. I'll always trust you. An hour later, as midnight approached, Mitchell Figueroa arrived at the edge of pack territory with his 20 warriors. They shifted to human form, and Mitchell stepped forward, his red eyes gleaming in the moonlight. So, he said, his gaze raking over Kara in her leather clothing. The little Silvermane survived her first shift. Impressive. But let's see if she can survive me. He stripped off his shirt, revealing a torso covered in scars, proof of dozens of fights, dozens of kills. Around his neck hung a necklace made of teeth. Wolf teeth, the teeth of challengers he'd killed. Kara felt her wolf growl, felt the mate bond flare as Grant's wolf snarled in response. But she kept her expression calm, neutral. Traditional challenge rules, Grant announced, his alpha voice carrying across both packs. First to yield or first blood ends it. If Kara wins, Mitchell and his pack leave our territory and forfeit all claim. If Mitchell wins, then the little Silvermane becomes mine, Mitchell finished. To do with as I please. Wrong, Kara said, stepping forward. If you win, I submit to your claim. But then I fight Grant. And if I beat him too, I walk away from both packs with no debt owed. Mitchell's laugh was ugly. You think you can beat 2 alphas in one night? After your first shift? I think, Kara said, feeling her wolf rise to the surface, that I'm about to surprise a lot of people. She shifted, and the challenge began. Chapter 9. The Challenge. Mitchell shifted a heartbeat after Kara, his black wolf massive and menacing in the moonlight. He was larger than her by half, his red eyes glowing with cruel anticipation. Around them, both packs had formed a circle, wolves and humans mixed together, watching in tense silence. Kara's silver wolf circled, assessing. Her wolf's instincts were screaming at her to run. Mitchell was older, stronger, more experienced. An alpha in his prime against a wolf who'd shifted for the first time mere hours ago. But Kara wasn't just any wolf. She was Silvermane, and she had a plan. Mitchell lunged first, testing her defenses. Kara dodged, her new body responding faster than her human mind could process. His jaws snapped closed on empty air where her throat had been a second before. She didn't counterattack, not yet. Instead, she continued circling, letting him come to her, learning his rhythm. Every attack, every feint, every movement told her something about how his body worked, where he favored his left side, how he telegraphed his strikes with a slight dip of his shoulder, the way his back left leg took a fraction longer to follow through than the others. Old injury, her wolf noted. Healed wrong. Mitchell was getting frustrated. He'd expected her to be easy prey, to panic, and make mistakes. Instead, she was making him work for every attack, slipping away like water through his claws. Stop running, little wolf, Mitchell growled, his wolf's voice carrying through the pack bond that all shifters shared in their animal forms. Face me like you have a spine. Kara's wolf showed teeth in what might have been a smile. Then she attacked, but not the way Mitchell expected. She didn't go for his throat or his legs or any of the obvious targets. Instead, she dove low, sliding under his guard, and raked her claws across his belly, not deep enough to seriously wound, but enough to draw blood. First blood. Technically, she'd won. But Mitchell wasn't interested in technicalities. He roared with rage and twisted, catching Kara's shoulder between his jaws. Pain exploded through her as his teeth sank deep, grinding against bone. The pack gasped. Grant snarled, taking a step forward, but Rex held him back. Challenge rules, Rex hissed. She has to fight her own battle. Mitchell shook her like a rag doll, then flung her across the clearing. Kara hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact the way Eula had taught her. Her shoulder screamed, blood pouring from the puncture wounds. But even as she rolled to her feet, she could feel the wounds closing. Not instantly, she wasn't that powerful yet, but faster than any normal wolf could heal. Silvermane gift. Elizabeth's healing power running through her veins. Mitchell stalked toward her, blood dripping from his muzzle. First blood might have been yours, but last blood will be mine. Yield now, and I'll make your service to my pack pleasant. Fight me, and I'll break you. Kara shifted back to human form, standing naked and bloody in the moonlight. Around the circle, several wolves looked away out of courtesy, but Mitchell's red eyes raked over her with obvious possession. "No," she said simply. Then she reached out with her gift. She'd been practicing all day, ever since reading Elizabeth's journal, reaching out with that warm tingling in her palms, feeling the life force in other living things. Andrea had let her practice on her first, teaching her to sense the flow of blood through veins, the firing of nerves, the contraction of muscles, teaching her to sense the body's vulnerabilities. Now Kara extended that sense toward Mitchell, who was still in wolf form. She could feel his life force like a bonfire, hot, strong, aggressive, but underneath the strength were weaknesses. That old injury in his back leg, a cracked rib that had never set quite right, scar tissue in his lungs from breathing in silver dust years ago, and something else. Something dark and toxic spreading through his system like poison, silver sickness. Mitchell had been exposed to pure silver at some point, and while his body had survived, it had never fully purged the toxin. It sat in his bones, his marrow, slowly killing him from the inside out. He probably had a decade left. Maybe less. No wonder he wanted a healer so badly. "I can feel it," Kara said quietly. "The silver in your system. It's eating you alive, isn't it? That's why you want me. You think I can cure it." Mitchell's wolf went rigid. Around them, his pack members shifted uneasily. Clearly, this was not common knowledge. "Can you?" Mitchell asked, his wolf's voice rough. "Maybe," Kara said honestly. "But I never will. Not for you." Mitchell's growl was pure rage. He shifted back to human form, advancing on her with murder in his eyes. "Then you're worthless to me. If I can't have you as a healer, I'll have you as a warning. Every pack in the territory will see what happens to Silvermanes who refuse their betters." He lunged, faster than any human should move, his hands extended and clawed. Kara tried to dodge, but her exhaustion was catching up. She'd shifted twice in one night, fought a battle, and her body was running on fumes. Mitchell's hand closed around her throat. Grant roared, fully shifting and charging forward. Pack law be damned. But Mitchell's wolves intercepted him, 20 against 1, holding their alpha back while their leader claimed his prize. Kara's vision started to gray. She could feel Mitchell's fingers crushing her windpipe, could feel consciousness slipping away. "Do something," her wolf snarled. "We didn't survive this long to die now." Kara stopped trying to break Mitchell's grip on her throat. Instead, she pressed both hands against his bare chest, directly over his heart, and reached out with her gift, but not to heal, to hurt. Elizabeth had written about it, how a healer who understood the flow of life could disrupt it just as easily as mend it. How the same power that knitted bones could shatter them. How the same gift that soothed pain could create agony. Kara found Mitchell's heartbeat and squeezed. Not literally. She had no physical grip on the organ. But with her gift, she constricted the blood vessels feeding it, starved it of oxygen, made it stutter and skip. Mitchell's eyes went wide. His grip on her throat loosened as pain exploded through his chest. He stumbled back, clutching at his heart, his face going pale. What are you doing?" he gasped. "Showing you," Kara said, her voice raspy from his choking, "that healers can break just as easily as they mend." She didn't kill him. She could have stopped his heart completely, ended his life with a thought. But she wasn't a murderer. She just needed him to understand. She was not prey. She was not a prize. She was a Silvermane wolf, and she bowed to no one. Mitchell collapsed to his knees, still clutching his chest. His pack surged forward, but Kara's voice stopped them. "One more step and your alpha dies," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her hands were still extended toward Mitchell, still connected to his life force through her gift. "I don't want to kill him, but I will if I have to." Grant had broken free from the nightshade wolves holding him, and now stood at Kara's side, his massive silver wolf radiating protective fury. Rex and the other Silvercrest wolves formed a wall behind them. Mitchell looked up at Kara, and for the first time, she saw something other than cruelty in his red eyes. Fear. And beneath that, grudging respect. "You win," he said hoarsely. "I submit. I forfeit my claim." Kara released her hold on his heart. Mitchell sucked in a shuddering breath, then slowly pushed himself to his feet. He swayed, one hand still pressed to his chest, but remained standing. The Silvermane has claimed victory, he announced to both packs. All wolves present bear witness. I, Mitchell Figueroa, Alpha of the Nightshade Pack, forfeit my claim on Kara Paul, and withdraw from Silvercrest territory. His pack looked shocked, but pack law was absolute. Mitchell had yielded. The challenge was over, but Kara wasn't finished. Wait, she said. Mitchell turned, wariness in his eyes. What? The silver sickness in your system. I can't cure it, not fully, not yet. My gift is too new, too untrained. But I can slow its progression. Give you years instead of months. Kara took a step toward him, ignoring Grant's warning growl. In exchange for 3 things. What things? Mitchell asked suspiciously. 1. You spread the word to every pack in the territory that the Silvermane bloodline has returned and that we're under Silvercrest protection. Any pack that comes for me comes through Grant first. Mitchell nodded slowly. Done. And the second? You owe me a favor. Not now, but someday I might need the Nightshade Pack's help. When that day comes, you'll answer. That's a dangerous promise to make, Mitchell said. But there was something like amusement in his voice. You're learning pack politics faster than I expected. Agreed. And the third? Kara smiled. Stop being such an asshole to your pack. I can feel them through the bond, they're terrified of you. Fear might keep wolves in line, but it doesn't build loyalty. And without loyalty, you don't have a pack, you have prisoners. Mitchell's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Kara thought he'd refuse. But then he laughed, a genuine sound, lacking the usual cruelty. You remind me of someone, he said. A female who told me something similar about 40 years ago. I didn't listen then. Maybe I should have. He extended his hand. 3 conditions. Accepted. Heal me. Silvermane. Kara took his hand, calling on her gift. She could feel the silver toxin in his system, dark and corrosive. She couldn't remove it, that would require power she didn't yet possess. But she could encapsulate it, slow its spread. By Mitchell, years of life he wouldn't have had otherwise. Silver light poured from her hands into Mitchell's chest. He gasped, his back arching, but didn't pull away. The light grew brighter, so bright that wolves had to shield their eyes. And then, it was done. Kara released Mitchell's hand and stumbled. Grant was there instantly, catching her in his strong arms before she could fall. She'd used too much power, pushed her gift too far on her first night as a shifted wolf. But it had worked. Mitchell looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers. The gray pallor was gone from his skin, replaced by healthy color. I can breathe, he said wonderingly. For the first time in 15 years. I can breathe without pain. It won't last forever, Kara warned. The silver is still there. This just bought you time. You'll need regular treatments, maybe once every few years. Then I'll return for them. Mitchell bowed his head, not submission, but respect. Thank you, Silvermane. You could have let me die. Should have, probably. The fact that you didn't, I won't forget it. He gathered his pack with a gesture, and the nightshade wolves melted back into the forest. Within moments they were gone, leaving only paw prints in the snow and the lingering scent of pine and blood. The Silvercrest pack stood in stunned silence. Then Rex started howling a cry of victory and celebration. Others joined in, and within seconds, the entire pack was howling, their voices rising to the moon in harmony. Kara sagged against Grant, her body finally giving out. She'd done it. She'd survived her first shift, defeated an enemy alpha, and proven herself to the pack. But there was still one more fight to go. So, Kara said, looking up at Grant's human face. He'd shifted back at some point during the chaos. I believe there was mention of a challenge. Me? Against you? Grant's silver eyes were molten with emotion, pride, desire, possessive fury. And underneath it all, a love so fierce it stole her breath. You just fought Mitchell and used your gift for the first time. You're exhausted. We're postponing the challenge. That's not how this works, Kara said. I made a promise. Me against you. Tonight. Unless you're scared you'll lose. I'm scared I'll hurt you, Grant growled. You can barely stand. Then you'll have to catch me when I fall. Kara pushed away from him, standing on shaking legs. Around them, the pack went quiet again, watching their alpha and the unclaimed female who'd just beaten an enemy alpha. Kara, don't be stupid. Fight me, Kara said. Or are you going to make my decisions for me? Tell me what I can and can't handle. Because if that's what being your mate means, Grant Hopkins, maybe I should walk away right now. Grant's jaw worked. She could see the war inside him, his alpha instincts screaming at him to protect her, to shield her from any threat, even himself. But she could also see the moment he understood what she was really asking for. Not protection. Respect. Fine, he said. Traditional challenge. No teeth, no claws. Human form only. First to pin the other for a count of 5 wins. And when I win? If you win, Grant said, moving to the center of the clearing, you earn the right to make your own choice. Stay with the pack or leave. Accept the mate bond, or reject it. Whatever you decide, I'll honor it. And if you win? Grant's smile was all wolf. Then I'm kissing you. Right here. In front of the entire pack. Claiming you as mine for everyone to see. And Kara? You're going to kiss me back. Heat flooded Kara's body despite her exhaustion. That sounds suspiciously like something other than a fight. Oh, it's definitely a fight, Grant said, falling into a fighting stance. But what happens after? That's something else entirely. Around them, the pack had formed a circle again. Andrea stepped forward, her expression caught between concern and approval. Are you sure about this? No, Kara admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. That's my girl, Andrea said with a smile. All right. You two. Fight clean. No killing. And for Moon's sake, try not to destroy each other before you figure out you're meant to be together. Kara faced Grant across the clearing. He'd removed his shirt pack tradition, since neither of them was allowed to shift, and stood bare-chested in the moonlight, every muscle defined and powerful. He was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, and she was about to fight him. Ready? Grant asked. Kara called on the last reserves of her strength, letting her wolf rise close enough to the surface to lend her power without actually shifting. Ready. Begin. Grant moved first, but not with the overwhelming force he'd used in training. He was being careful, testing her limits, trying not to hurt her. Kara didn't return the favor. She used every dirty trick Eula had taught her. Went for pressure points, joint locks, anything that would give her an advantage. She was smaller, weaker, utterly exhausted. If she fought fair, she'd lose in seconds. So she cheated. When Grant grabbed for her, she twisted inside his guard and drove her elbow into his solar plexus. When he tried to grapple, she dropped low and swept his legs. When he pinned her arm, she used her gift to make every nerve in that arm sing with pins and needles' numbness, forcing him to release her. It wasn't enough. Grant was too strong, too experienced, too damn good at this. Within 2 minutes, he had her flat on her back, his weight pressing her into the snow, his hands pinning her wrists above her head. Submit, he growled, his face inches from hers. No, Kara gasped. Kara, you can't win. You're exhausted. Just say the words. I said no. She bucked her hips, trying to throw him off, but he was immovable, a mountain of muscle and determination. She tried to call on her gift, but she'd used too much power healing Mitchell. There was nothing left. She'd lost. But she'd proven her point. She'd fought an enemy alpha and her own alpha on the same night, had survived her first shift, and used her gift to heal and harm, had shown everyone watching that she was not weak, not helpless, not a prize to be passed around. Grant counted to 5 slowly, giving her every chance to break free. When he reached 5 without her escaping, he released her wrists. I win, he said softly. You win, Kara agreed, which means I get my prize. Which is? Grant's hand cupped her face, his thumb tracing her jawline with infinite gentleness. You. Just you. Exactly as you are stubborn and reckless and so brave it terrifies me. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was hunger and desperation and 2 weeks of denied desire exploding into action. His lips claimed hers with an authority that made her wolf purr with satisfaction, his tongue sweeping into her mouth to taste and explore. Kara kissed him back with everything she had left. Her hands fisted in his hair, pulling him closer, and Grant growled against her mouth a sound that was pure wolf, pure possession, pure mate. The bond flared between them, no longer potential but fully realized. Kara could feel Grant's emotions like they were her own. The fierce joy, the protective fury, the love that went bone deep and soul wide. Around them, the pack howled approval. When Grant finally pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. His silver eyes glowed in the moonlight, and Kara knew hers were doing the same. "Mine," he said. Not a question. A statement of absolute fact. "Ours," Kara corrected. "Because I own you just as much as you own me." Grant's laugh was pure happiness. "I can live with that." He stood, pulling her up with him, and addressed the pack. "Witness and acknowledge, Kara Paul of the Silvermane bloodline has defeated an enemy alpha, survived her first shift, and earned her place in this pack. She is Silvercrest, now and always. She is pack. She is family." He paused, his arm wrapping around Kara's waist, pulling her against his side. "And she is my mate. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me personally." Silence. Then Rex stepped forward, grinning like an idiot. "Finally, I thought you two were going to dance around each other forever. Welcome to the pack, Kara." Officially. Others came forward, then Hugo, Eula, Nelda, Lyle, even wolves she'd barely spoken to. Each one touching her shoulder or arm, the pack's way of accepting new members. The bond expanded with each touch, connecting her to all of them in ways that words couldn't describe. Even Marion approached, though her expression was carefully neutral. "You fought well," she said stiffly. "I still think you're a risk to this pack. But you've earned your place." She nodded to Grant. "Congratulations, Alpha. May the moon bless your bond." Then she turned and walked away, her shoulders rigid with something that looked like grief. Kara almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Come on," Grant said, lifting Kara into his arms despite her protests. "You're dead on your feet. Time to get you inside, fed, and into bed. And before you argue, that's Alpha command. And you're pack now, so you have to obey." "That's not how this works," Kara said, but she was too tired to really fight it. She let her head rest against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, and felt safe for the first time in her life. The pack followed them back to the lodge, a parade of wolves in human and animal form, all celebrating the victory and the new bond. It was dawn by the time they reached the building, the moon setting just as the sun rose. Grant carried Kara to his floor, the Alpha's floor, which was now hers too, and set her gently on a bed that was easily 3 times the size of the one she'd been using. "Sleep," he said, pulling a blanket over her. "When you wake up, we'll eat, we'll talk, we'll figure out what happens next. But for now, just rest. You've earned it." Kara's eyes were already closing. "Grant? Yeah? I choose you. The pack. The bond. This life. I choose all of it." She felt him go still, felt the wave of emotion through the mate bond joy so intense it was almost painful. "I love you too," he said softly. "Sleep, little wolf. I'll be here when you wake." Kara smiled and let herself drift off, cradled by the mate bond and the pack bond and the knowledge that she'd finally found where she belonged. She was Silvermane. She was Silvercrest. She was home. Chapter 10. Silver Dawn. Kara woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The bed was too soft, the room too large, the light too warm. Then memory flooded back: the shift, the challenge, Mitchell's defeat, Grant's kiss, and she smiled against the pillow. She was in the Alpha's quarters. Grant's quarters. Their quarters now. Her body ached in 1,000 places, but it was a good ache. The ache of muscles well used, of a body pushed to its limits and surviving. She stretched, feeling the pleasant pull of healing tissue, and sat up. The room was stunning. Exposed timber beams crossed the ceiling, and one entire wall was glass, offering a panoramic view of the valley. She could see wolves moving through the streets below, some in human form going about daily tasks, others in wolf form playing or patrolling. Her pack, her family. A note sat on the nightstand in bold, masculine handwriting. Didn't want to wake you. Pack meeting at noon to discuss Mitchell's promise and next steps. Clothes in the closet. Food in the kitchen. Coffee is fresh. Take your time. You've earned rest. G. P. S. You snore. It's adorable. Kara laughed, then immediately winced as her ribs protested. She touched her shoulder where Mitchell had bitten her. The wounds were completely healed. Not even a scar remaining. The Silvermane gift at work, healing her even while she slept. She found the closet, which was absurdly large, stocked with clothes in her size. Not just the practical training gear she'd been wearing, but actual nice clothing. Jeans that fit perfectly, soft sweaters, boots that looked expensive. And in the back, hanging by itself, was a dress. It was beautiful. Deep silver gray that would match her wolf's fur, made of some fabric that looked like liquid moonlight. A note was pinned to it in Andrea's handwriting. For the Luna ceremony. Every alpha's mate needs something special for their official introduction to the pack. This was Grant's mother's. He wanted you to have it, Andrea. Luna. The title for an alpha's mate. Kara touched the dress reverently, overwhelmed by the gesture. Grant's mother had worn this dress, and now he wanted Kara to wear it. She showered quickly, marveling at the bathroom that was bigger than her old apartment. The hot water soothed her aching muscles, and she stood under the spray for longer than necessary, processing everything that had happened. 24 hours ago, she'd been terrified of her first shift. Now she was a fully transformed wolf, had defeated an enemy alpha, and was mated to the most powerful alpha in the territory. Her life had become something out of a fairy tale. The kind where the underdog wins, the hero gets the girl, and everyone lives happily ever after. Except real life was never that simple. Kara, dressed in jeans and a soft green sweater, pulled her wet hair into a braid and ventured out into the main living area of the alpha's quarters. It was open and spacious, with comfortable furniture arranged around another massive fireplace. Through the windows, she could see the entire valley spread out like a kingdom. The kitchen was state-of-the-art, and as promised, there was fresh coffee and food, more food than one person could possibly eat. Eggs, bacon, toast, fruit, pastries. Kara loaded a plate and sat at the counter, eating while watching the pack move through the valley below. She could feel them now through the pack bond. Not individual thoughts that would have been invasive, but emotions and general well-being. Most of the pack was content, going about their daily routines. A few were on high alert, patrolling the borders. And one presence burned brighter than all the others, a beacon that called to her very soul. Grant. She could feel him somewhere in the valley, could sense his calm determination as he handled alpha business. The mate bond thrummed between them, and Kara wondered if he could feel her too, if he knew she was awake and thinking about him. As if summoned by her thoughts, the door to the quarters opened and Grant walked in. He was dressed in what Kara was learning was his version of formal dark jeans and a button-down shirt that did absolutely nothing to hide the powerful lines of his body. His hair was still damp from a shower, and his silver eyes found her immediately. "You're awake," he said, and was that relief in his voice. "How do you feel?" "Sore, hungry, confused." Kara gestured at the view, the room, everything. "This is a lot to process." "I know." Grant moved to pour himself coffee, then joined her at the counter. "We can take it slow. You've got a year of service to the pack that gives us plenty of time to figure out what being mates actually means for us." "What does it mean?" Kara asked. "In practical terms, not mystical moonbond terms." Grant considered this, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee mug. "It means you're my equal, my partner. Anything I decide for this pack, you have the right to question, to challenge, to overrule if you think I'm wrong. It means when I travel to meet with other alphas, you come with me. When pack members have disputes, they can bring them to you just as they would to me. It means I'm Luna," Kara finished. "Leader alongside you. Responsible for 300 wolves who I barely know and who definitely don't all trust me yet." "Yes," Grant said honestly. And I won't lie to you, it's going to be hard. There are pack members who resent you for taking a position they think should have gone to someone who grew up in pack culture. There are political complications with other packs who will see you as either a threat or an opportunity. And there's the fact that you're still learning basic pack law and customs while trying to develop your healing gift. He set down his coffee and turned to face her fully. But Kara, you don't have to accept any of it. The mate bond is real. And my wolf has chosen you. But you still have free will. If you want to serve your year as a regular pack member, learn our ways without the pressure of being Luna, I'll support that. If you want to reject the bond entirely and walk away at the end of your service, I'll let you go. It'll probably kill me. His voice went rough. But I'll do it, because I meant what I said. You deserve the choice. Kara looked at this man, this alpha who'd saved her grandmother, trained her for a fight she shouldn't have survived, kissed her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. A man who could have used alpha command to force her compliance but instead offered her freedom. I'm scared, she admitted. Terrified, actually. I don't know how to be Luna. Don't know if I'm strong enough, smart enough, good enough for this pack. But Grant? I want to try. Not because the moon chose us, but because I choose you. I choose this life. I choose this pack. Relief and joy flooded through the mate bond. Grant's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb stroking her cheek with infinite gentleness. Then we'll figure it out together. You and me. Learning as we go. Making mistakes and fixing them. Building something strong enough to weather whatever comes next. What is coming next? Kara asked. Noon meeting to discuss pack business. Then this evening, we're holding a Luna ceremony officially presenting you to the pack as my mate and equal. It's tradition, involves a lot of ritual and some mild blood magic that bonds you more deeply to the pack. Andrea will walk you through it. He smiled. And tomorrow we start your real training. Combat, politics, healing, history, everything you need to know to be Luna. Sounds exhausting. It will be. But you're Silvermane. If anyone can handle it, it's you. The noon meeting took place in a large conference room on the second floor of the main lodge. When Kara entered with Grant, she found about 20 wolves already assembled, the core leadership of the Silvercrest pack. Rex sat at the large wooden table, grinning when he saw her. Andrea was there too, along with Hugo, Eula, and others Kara was starting to recognize. At the far end of the table, looking distinctly uncomfortable, sat Marion. Everyone you know, Kara, Grant said, taking a seat at the head of the table and gesturing for Kara to sit beside him. As of last night, she's officially pack and my mate. She'll be sitting in on leadership meetings from now on, learning pack operations. A few wolves nodded approval. Others looked skeptical. Marion's expression was carefully blank. First order of business, Grant continued, pulling up a digital map on the screen at the end of the room. Mitchell Figueroa has agreed to spread word throughout the territory that the Silvermane bloodline has returned and is under our protection. This is both good and bad news. How is it bad? Kara asked. Because every pack within 500 miles is now going to know we have a healer, Hugo said gruffly. And not just any healer, a Silvermane. That makes us powerful, but it also paints a target on our backs. Other packs might decide it's worth the risk to attack us and try to claim you. Let them try, Rex said cheerfully. We'll tear them apart. We'll defend our territory, Grant corrected. But we're not looking for a war, which is why we need to shore up our alliances. He pointed to several territories on the map. The Crescent Moon Pack to the north has always been friendly. I want to send a delegation there within the week to formalize an alliance. The Mountain Ridge Pack to the east is neutral, Rex. I want you to reach out to their alpha, feel out where they stand. Rex nodded. On it, boss. What about the packs that might actually attack? Kara asked. Are there any we should be particularly worried about? The room went quiet. Grant and Andrea exchanged a look that made Kara's stomach drop. There's one, Andrea said finally. The Blood Moon Pack. They control territory about 200 miles south. Their alpha is Thomas McKee. And he's problematic. Problematic how? Kara asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. He believes in the old ways, Hugo said. The really old ways. Challenge and conquest. Taking mates by force. Pack law that's more like pack tyranny. 20 years ago, he tried to expand into our territory. Grant's father pushed him back, but it cost us 30 pack members. The Blood Moon pack lost even more, but McKee never forgot it. He holds grudges, Rex added. And if he hears we have a Silvermane healer who's young and potentially powerful, he'll see it as an opportunity, either to claim you for his own pack or to eliminate you so we don't have an advantage over him. So what do? Kara asked. We prepare, Grant said. Increase border patrols, run combat drills, make sure everyone knows the protocols if we're attacked, and we make sure you're never alone or unprotected. Your detail stays with you at all times. Kara wanted to argue that she didn't need constant supervision, but she'd seen Mitchell fight. If there were alphas out there who were worse, who wouldn't honor challenge rules or pack law, then she needed to be smart. I understand, she said. The meeting continued for another hour, covering everything from food stores to training schedules to diplomatic relations with human authorities. Kara listened carefully, absorbing as much as she could. This was her pack now. These decisions affected her future. When the meeting finally ended and wolves began filing out, Marion approached. Up close, Kara could see the exhaustion in her golden eyes, the tight lines around her mouth. Can we talk? Marion asked quietly. Privately? Kara glanced at Grant, who nodded slightly. I'll wait outside, he said, though his reluctance to leave her alone with Marion was obvious through the bond. When everyone else had gone, Marion sank into a chair, suddenly looking older than her years. I owe you an apology, she said bluntly, for the way I've treated you since you arrived, for questioning your place in this pack, for hoping you'd fail the challenge so things could go back to how they were. Why are you telling me this? Kara asked, sitting across from her. Because you're going to be Luna whether I like it or not, and I can either keep being bitter or I can be useful. Marion met her eyes. I wanted to be alpha female. Have wanted it for years. I'm strong, experienced, politically savvy. I thought I'd be perfect for the role. And then you showed up untrained, human, knowing nothing about our world, and Grant chose you. The mate bond chose us, Kara corrected. Neither of us had a say in it. I know. And that's what makes it so hard to hate you. You didn't steal anything from me. The moon just decided you were meant for him. And there's nothing I can do about it. Marion's laugh was bitter. Do you know what it's like, watching the man you've loved for decades look at someone else with that kind of devotion? No, Kara said honestly, but I can imagine it hurts. It does. But I'm tired of hurting. Tired of wanting something I can never have. Marion straightened her shoulders. So I'm letting it go. Grant is your mate, you're going to be Luna, and I'm going to do my job as beta female and support you. Not because I like you, I don't know you well enough to like or dislike you, but because this pack needs us to work together. Kara studied the other woman, seeing past the hostility to the pain beneath. Thank you for being honest. And for what it's worth. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I am. It's a start. Marion stood, offering her hand. Clean slate? You don't treat me like a threat, I don't treat you like an interloper, and we both work to make this pack stronger? Kara took her hand and shook. Clean slate. After Marion left, Grant returned, pulling Kara into his arms. That looked intense. It was, but I think we're going to be okay. Kara rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Grant, what happens if I can't be what this pack needs? If my gift isn't strong enough, or I make a mistake that costs lives, or I just fail, then we'll deal with it together. Grant said simply. Kara, I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I'm expecting you to try, to learn, to grow. That's all anyone can ask. And if other packs attack because of me, then we fight. We protect our own. That's what family does. Family. The word settled warm in Kara's chest. For so many years, she'd been alone, just her and her grandmother against the world. Now she had 300 wolves who would fight for her, die for her, because she was pack. Come on, Grant said, pressing a kiss to her forehead. You've got a few hours before the Luna ceremony. Andrea wants to prep you, and I've got to check on the southern border patrols. Try not to cause any diplomatic incidents while I'm gone." "No promises," Kara said, but she was smiling. The Luna ceremony took place that evening, in the main hall of the lodge. Someone had transformed the space candles everywhere. Silver and white fabric draped from the rafters, flowers that only bloomed under moonlight arranged in massive bouquets. The pack had gathered, 300 wolves in human and animal form, all watching as Kara descended the stairs. She wore the silver dress, and it fit like it had been made for her. Andrea had done something to her hair, braided it with silver thread and tiny crystals that caught the light. The pendant Grant had given her rested against her chest, warm from her skin. At the bottom of the stairs, Grant waited. He was dressed formally in black slacks and a silver shirt that matched his eyes. And when he saw her, his expression transformed. Raw need and possessive pride and love so fierce it made her stumble. "You're beautiful," he said through the mate bond. "You're not so bad yourself." She replied the same way, and felt his amusement ripple through the connection. Andrea stood at the front of the hall, acting as ceremony leader. She'd changed into formal robes, deep blue, embroidered with silver moons and wolves. In her hands, she held a ceremonial knife. "We gather under the moon's light to witness a sacred bond," Andrea announced, her voice carrying through the hall. "Grant Hopkins, Alpha of the Silver Crest Pack, has chosen his mate. Kara Paul of the Silvermane bloodline has accepted. Tonight, we bind them not just to each other, but to this pack and all who call it home." Grant took Kara's hand, leading her to stand before Andrea. The pack pressed closer, forming a circle around them. "The Luna ceremony has 3 parts," Andrea continued. "The oath, the blood, and the bond. Grant Hopkins, are you prepared to swear your oath?" "I am," Grant said, his voice steady and strong. "Then speak." Grant turned to face Kara, his silver eyes holding hers. "I, Grant Hopkins, Alpha of the Silver Crest Pack, take you, Kara Paul, as my mate and equal. I swear to protect you, to honor you, to listen to your counsel, and respect your choices. I swear to lead this pack alongside you, to share my power and my burden. I swear to love you in this life and whatever comes after. By the moon's light and my blood, this oath is binding." Tears burned in Kara's eyes. "I, Kara Paul of the Silvermane bloodline, take you, Grant Hopkins, as my mate and equal. I swear to stand beside you, to challenge you when you're wrong and support you when you're right. I swear to use my gift to heal this pack, to protect them with everything I am. I swear to love you fiercely and without reservation. By the moon's light and my blood, this oath is binding." Andrea stepped forward with the ceremonial knife. "The blood binds us. Luna, offer your palm." Kara held out her right hand. Andrea made a quick, shallow cut across her palm. It stung, but not badly. Blood welled up, silver in the moonlight. "Alpha, offer your palm." Grant held out his hand, and Andrea made an identical cut. Then she pressed their palms together, Kara's blood mixing with Grant's. The moment their blood touched, power exploded through the hall. Kara gasped as the pack bond, which had been a background hum, suddenly blazed to life. She could feel all of them now, every wolf in the pack, their emotions and strengths and fears, could feel their acceptance of her as Luna, their trust in Grant's choice, their hope for what she might become. And underneath it all, connecting every single wolf like threads in a vast tapestry, was the Alpha bond. Grant's power, flowing through the pack, holding them together. Now Kara was part of that bond. Her power still new, still untrained, but undeniably present, flowing out to touch each pack member. Healing energy, warm and silver, offering comfort and strength. "The bond is sealed," Andrea announced. "Grant Hopkins and Kara Paul are mated, bound by blood and moon and pack. What the moon has joined, no wolf may separate. Witness and honor." "Witnessed and honored," the pack roared back. Then chaos erupted, joyful chaos. Wolves shifted and howled, celebrating the new bond. Rex started a chant that others picked up, something ancient in a language Kara didn't know but somehow understood. "Pack. Luna. Strong." Grant pulled her close, uncaring that her palm was still bleeding, that the pack was watching. He kissed her deeply, claiming her mouth with an authority that made her wolf purr with satisfaction. When he finally released her, both of them breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "Mine," he growled. "Ours," Kara corrected breathlessly. "Always ours." The celebration continued late into the night. There was food and music and dancing. Wolves told stories of Grant's parents, of previous Lunas, of the pack's history. Kara met so many pack members, her head spun, but she tried to remember each name, each face. These were her people now. Her family. Near midnight, Andrea pulled her aside. "How are you holding up?" "Overwhelmed," Kara admitted. "Happy but overwhelmed." "Good. That means you understand the magnitude of what you've taken on." Andrea squeezed her hand. "Your grandmother is awake and asking for you. She watched the ceremony via video link, wanted me to tell you she's proud." Tears spilled down Kara's cheeks. "Can I see her?" "Tomorrow. Tonight is for the pack. But tomorrow, we'll bring her here. She's strong enough to be moved now, and she should be with family." Family, that word again. As the moon reached its zenith, and the celebration began to wind down, Grant led Kara back to their quarters. She was exhausted, emotionally and physically drained, but happier than she'd ever been. "One more thing," Grant said as they entered the main room. He pulled out a small wrapped box from his pocket. "I was going to wait, but I can't. Open it." Kara unwrapped the box to find a ring inside silver metal carved with wolves running through a forest. A moonstone set in the center that seemed to glow with inner light. "It's not an engagement ring," Grant said quickly. "We're already mated. Pack law considers that more binding than any human marriage. This is a promise. That I'll spend every day earning your trust. That I'll be worthy of the gift the moon gave me when it chose you. That I'll love you for as long as we both live and beyond." Kara couldn't speak. She just held out her hand, and Grant slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course. Like it had been made for her. Like everything in this life had been waiting for her to arrive. "I love you," she finally managed. "So much it scares me." "Then we're both terrified and completely certain at the same time," Grant said. "Seems about right for us." He swept her into his arms, carrying her to the bedroom despite her half-hearted protests. They made love slowly, gently, learning each other's bodies and souls in the moonlight. The mate bond sang between them, amplifying every touch, every kiss, until Kara couldn't tell where she ended and Grant began. Later, wrapped in his arms with the pack bond humming contentedly in the background, Kara looked out the window at the valley below. Her valley, her pack, her home. "What are you thinking?" Grant asked sleepily. "That 3 weeks ago, I was a waitress living above a Chinese restaurant, wondering how I'd pay rent. Now I'm Luna of a werewolf pack, mated to an alpha king, with a gift that might save lives." She turned to look at him. "It's insane, all of it. And I wouldn't change a thing, not even the parts where you almost died, especially not those parts. They led me here, to you, to this." She gestured at the moonlight, the valley, everything. "To home." Grant pulled her closer, his hand splaying possessively over her stomach. "Speaking of home, how do you feel about pups? Because Luna wolves are exceptionally fertile, and we've been enthusiastic." Kara's eyes went wide. "Pups? As in baby werewolves?" "Grant, I just became a wolf. I can't." "Not now," he said quickly, though she could feel his amusement through the bond. "But someday. When you're ready. When we're ready. I'm just saying the moon seems to have plans for us." "The moon can wait," Kara said firmly. "I need to learn how to be Luna before I even think about being a mother." "Fair enough." Grant pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "Sleep, little wolf. Tomorrow starts your real training. Andrea's going to work you harder than I ever did." "Looking forward to it," Kara lied, and felt Grant's laugh rumble through his chest. She closed her eyes, feeling the mate bond anchor her, the pack bond surround her, the moonlight bless her. In the distance, a wolf howled, probably Rex, always the last to go to sleep, and deep in Kara's chest, her own wolf answered. She was Kara Paul, formerly nobody from nowhere. Now she was Luna, healer, Silvermane, mate to the Alpha King. She was home. And this was just the beginning. Epilogue. 6 months later. The war room was crowded with alphas. Grant sat at the head of the table, his presence commanding respect from every wolf present. To his right sat Kara, now comfortable in her role as Luna, her healing gift having saved 17 pack members in the last 6 months alone. To his left, Rex sprawled in his chair, looking deceptively relaxed. Mitchell Figueroa sat 3 seats down, looking healthier than he had in years. True to his word, he'd spread the news about the Silvermane bloodline and had become an unexpected ally. 2 other alphas, leaders of smaller packs who'd formed alliances with Silvercrest, completed the gathering. Tomas McKee is moving, Mitchell said, pulling up a map on his tablet. My scouts report unusual activity along his southern border. He's consolidating his forces, preparing for something big. An attack? Rex asked. Maybe. Or maybe he's finally making his move to expand territory. Either way, he's a threat. Mitchell looked at Kara. And everyone knows you're here. You're too valuable a prize to ignore. Let him come, Grant said, his voice cold. We've prepared for this. Our alliances are strong, our borders secure. If McKee wants a war, we'll give him one. Or, Kara said, and all eyes turned to her. We could try diplomacy first. Mitchell, you said McKee believes in the old ways. What if we challenged him to something he'd respect? A formal meeting under truce, with all allied packs present. Make it clear that attacking us means attacking everyone at this table. Mitchell considered this. He might respect that. Might. But McKee's not rational. He's driven by old grudges and older pride. Then we make him a rational offer, Kara said. I heal one of his wolves, someone important, someone he cares about. Show him that having us as allies is more valuable than having us as enemies. Grant's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. Through the mate bond, she felt his pride and concern in equal measure. It's risky, he said. But it might work. I'll send a formal invitation, Mitchell said. But Kara, if you go into Blood Moon territory, you'll need serious protection. McKee plays by his own rules. Then we'll bring our own army, Rex said cheerfully. Nothing says diplomatic mission like 50 heavily armed wolves. The meeting continued for another hour, plans being made, strategies discussed. When it finally ended, and the other alphas filed out, Grant pulled Kara close. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Healing McKee's wolves puts you at risk. So does doing nothing and letting him attack. Kara rested her head against his chest. I'm Luna. This is my job, protecting the pack, even when it's dangerous. I know. Doesn't mean I have to like it. You could always lock me in a tower somewhere, Kara teased. Tried that. You'd just heal the lock and escape. Grant kissed the top of her head. Come on. Your grandmother's waiting. She made dinner, and you know how she gets when we're late. They walked through the valley, hand in hand, nodding to pack members as they passed. The lodge was lit up against the evening darkness, warm and welcoming. Inside, Kara could hear laughter and music, the pack gathering for their nightly communal dinner. Margaret was in the kitchen, looking healthier than she had in years. The pack healers had done what human doctors couldn't, and now she moved with the energy of someone 20 years younger. She'd taken up residence in the lodge, mentoring young wolves and teaching Kara more about the Silvermane gift. There you are, Margaret said, waving a spoon. Set the table. Both of you. We're having guests. Who? Kara asked, grabbing plates. That nice boy Rex and his new mate. Plus Andrea and Hugo. And I invited Marian, she's been looking thin lately, needs a good meal. Kara smiled. Her grandmother had a way of adopting every lost soul she encountered. In 6 months, she'd become a beloved pack elder, dispensing wisdom and homemade cookies in equal measure. Dinner was loud and chaotic and perfect. Stories were shared, plans made, laughter echoing off the walls. This was her life, now surrounded by family, pack, love. Later that night, lying in bed with Grant's arms around her and the moonlight streaming through the windows, Kara thought about how far she'd come. From a lonely waitress to Luna, from human to wolf, from lost to found. What are you thinking? Grant asked, his voice thick with approaching sleep. That I'm happy, Kara said simply. That despite everything, the danger, the responsibility, the constant threat of war, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With me? With you. With the pack. With myself. She turned to face him. Silver eyes meeting silver eyes. I love you, Grant Hopkins. And I love this life we're building together. I love you too, he said, pulling her close. My Luna. My mate. My everything. Outside, the full moon hung huge and silver in the sky. And somewhere in the valley, wolves howled in harmony, singing their joy to the moon that had brought them all together. Kara closed her eyes and let the pack bond lull her to sleep, safe and loved and home. This was her fairy tale, and it was just beginning. And there you have it, a girl who didn't believe in soulmates became Luna to an alpha king. Sometimes the calls we almost don't make change everything. So here's my question for you. Do you believe the moon has a plan, or do we create our own destiny? Let me know in the comments. And if this story made you feel something, a like would be deeply appreciated. See you in the next story.